Now play yours.
Good stuff. All right, we'll do like a.
Nice.
Nice.
Here, let me hit that.
Nice.
All right. Welcome both
Here we
to. This is our 5th episode of the podcast, Dreamcore. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
I have started with, at this point you may have noticed, a lot of my friends coming in and like hearing out their stories, and I think today we'll hear about some good nightmares, hopefully in store. And then I actually don't know like what kind of dreams you have.
I certainly have dreams.
Yeah, that's crazy. So Karina certainly has dreams. Why don't you go ahead and start by introducing yourselves? You can start.
Should I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm Karina Diaz. And I'm from LA. And I am here now with Santi.
Yeah.
Cool. My name is Issa. I am also from LA. Coming down, hanging out a little bit, celebrate Pride, and now we're doing this.
Yeah.
Exciting stuff.
Nice. Yeah. So normally how I kind of do it is like I'll kind of ignore the camera.
Yeah.
After a good while,
That's
you
fine.
know, because I like to be focused on the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we should just jump right in. I think I'm curious to start with you because I don't know anything about the kinds of things you dream about.
Okay.
Or if you have like a recent dream that's kind of been hitting.
Well, with a lot of my dreams, like they kind of come and go. Like I have them, and then like it was some like really like interesting dream, but then I forget about it because I don't really like I don't do like a dream journal. I wish I would, but then I forget I have a dream journal, and then
Oh, so you have one?
I had tried before, but I just wouldn't use it as often as I should.
Oh, like when?
Yeah. Probably like I don't know, like 3 years ago. I had just watched like Shark Boy and Lava Girl again, so I was like, yeah, I'll keep
COVID. Peak COVID moment.
So I was like, yeah, I think I'll do a dream journal.
Because they keep one in the movie.
Yeah, in the movie.
That's like the whole
that's
thing.
like the whole like
he steals the
MacGuffin.
notebook.
Yeah, but like one recent one that I had for some reason was like I was in like this like rustic house in Mexico. That's what I gathered from like what I remember from the dream.
Yeah.
Like and my fiance's there with me.
Oh, wow.
And just in the middle of the living room.
Wait. Fiance in real life or in the dream?
In real life.
I know this. Hey, yo. Nice. Congrats.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I'd like to talk more about that later.
Yeah, for sure.
But okay, they pop out in this dream, this like old-ish, like rustic house.
Yeah, like I don't know if we're like visiting or if we were like living together there. Mm-hmm. But and then I remember just sitting in like the middle of the living room. There was this like this old CRT TV on.
CRT is
like one of those like old like box TVs.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Okay. And there was like a console plugged into it.
Oh, okay.
And I just remember like sitting down and playing a game on it. Like there was probably more to the dream, but that's what I remember the most about it. Like I don't even know what game it was. It was just like and I guess like overall the overall like vibe I got from that was just that like it was like homey. It was like
that's what it sounds like. Yeah.
And like
sounds cozy.
And I was comfortable.
What was like could you see outside of the house?
No.
This reminds me of like I guess the house I thought was like the house of like courage. You know, it's like in the middle of nowhere, but more of a peaceful thing.
No, like it was like a kind of like there was like red tiles.
Oh,
and,
cool.
And it had one of those like arches that was like
in the house.
Like in the house, like to the kitchen and like a bit to the living, like to the main front house.
Yeah.
Main front door, and like it just seemed like rustic. Is what I remember. Like I don't know. And I guess the reason I think Mexico is because it looks like one of the houses that like one of my family members lived in over in Mexico.
Oh, so did you ever get to see that house in like real life?
I did once when I was like a kid, when I was like 5.
Oh, okay.
When the first time that I visited.
Did it feel like that house in your dream?
Like at the time, like it didn't feel like that house. I was just kind of thinking, oh, this is just a house we're in.
Yeah.
But like more like now that I'm like questioning that like even more, I'm just kind of like, yeah, it did seem like a familiar place.
But yeah, so I get the sense that it was like you said, homey and like relaxing and all that good stuff. So when did you have this dream? Do you kind of remember?
Like 2 weeks ago, I'd say.
Oh, recent. Oh, okay.
It was pretty recent.
What happened? What was like your mind in 2 weeks ago?
I don't know. I guess
something recent happened.
Well, no. I feel like it's just been the general thought with like housing and everything. Like me and Amelia have just been picturing like having a place together. And because we really want to like have our own little place.
Yeah.
Where we could put like our own little like decorations and whatnot, like and like maybe like once we're stable enough have a family. But,
oh, I see. So in a way, like the dream was kind of also like a longing.
Yeah.
Of something you'd like to have.
Yeah.
You know, like a real experience, like because I do get the sense that like it like just having that old TV there is almost like a symbol of like the peace and like the relaxing. It doesn't even matter what video game, just like the fact that you're like in the place.
Yeah.
If you were to get a place in real life, and like say you didn't have a budget, you know, say you could just like, you know, pick wherever, like what would that be?
I don't know. Like for me, I'd just be happy with wherever I like a place maybe with a backyard, like that has enough space for like me and my fiance to put like, you know, what touches we want to put. But like I know that definitely for my fiance, one of their like dream places would just be like at a beach because they really love the beach.
Oh,
I really wouldn't mind that either. Like,
yeah.
Because that was definitely one of my first like dream kind of places to like have a house in.
Like a beach home.
Yeah, like a beach home. But I mean, but that's like ridiculously expensive and.
It can be.
Yeah.
I remember when you visited when I was in college. Yeah, that night was fun. I think we were like on a sick one, and we ended up watching The Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Dude.
Oh, I wasn't there actually.
Oh, that was just Emilio.
It was just Emilio.
And,
yeah.
Ben.
But they told me all about it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
but,
must have been like hallucinating or something.
No. Yeah. Like they even told me they didn't even watch the movie. They just kind of like.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Woke up in the middle and just saw that like it was over.
Yeah, it was ending.
I think they had rented it too for that. Too.
Yeah, they did on YouTube. Yeah, like I remember we were like fucked up. Like, so I think if I remember correctly, the way it happened was they were coming from LA to visit, and I was really excited. I was like, oh yeah, it's like because at the time I was like such a big stoner. You know, I still am to an extent, especially yesterday. But
oh yeah.
Yeah, like they had come from LA, and I was like, yes, like I'm not gonna do anything today. They came and almost immediately, we just went straight to the dab machine. You know, the little rig that they brought. We just started hitting it, and then I remember like a good hour in, I was like, wait, like I'm supposed to have a party today. Like I invited like a lot of people, and like the house was supposed to be converted, and I told them, I was like, hey, like, I think there's a party today, and there's, like, flyers and shit. And they're like, oh, fuck. So, like, I think we had, like, maybe, like, something like 2 or 3 hours to, like, rearrange the whole house and get it, like, for party mode. And that part was such a blur because I was already, like, blasted.
Oh, my God.
And, yeah, we, like, rearranged this whole house and cover up the hallway and set up, like, a little projector there so people don't, like, get into the kitchen area and all that. The party happens like a dream. Like, I don't even really experience it because I'm so out of it already. If anything, I'm pretty sure I was, like, drinking more and just, like, on this, like, other wavelength I couldn't even comprehend. But then suddenly the party was over. And I remember, like, a good chunk of people stuck around. Mm-hmm. And in college, we had, like, this room called, like, a green room. And everyone's, like, computers and, like, it was, like, a little office space for us, you know. And, yeah, at the end of the party, we all kind of just went in there. It was kind of far enough from the door so the cops don't hear music and, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, we're in this room, and we just decided to keep going at it. We're like, keep going with the dads. I remember just hitting it again and again and again. And, yeah, then I woke up, and the lighthouse was playing. And it was, like, some dramatic scene at the end.
That one scene where he's, like, at the, like, light, and he's just, like...
To be honest, I don't remember. I remember the, like, visual. Like, it was black and white. And, who's it? Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson and William Dafoe.
William Dafoe. Yeah, they're both in it. But, yeah, wild moment. I must have hallucinated you were there, though.
No, Amelia told me that they had woken up in the part where, like, Robert Pattinson is, like, at the light and, like, is, like, trying to, like, or whatever he is doing to the light, like, screaming. Yeah. And they were just like, oh, wow, like...
How symbolic.
How symbolic.
Yeah. It was a good memory, though. I really enjoyed having them around the house and all that.
I definitely would have gone, but I had work that day, I think.
Yeah, and I'm glad you came here today.
Yeah.
Because I know you also had work. I mean, I'm going to cut that out. You did it. Place message. But yeah, so it sounds like you want that experience, like a nice home and stuff.
Yeah.
Is there a trajectory to that point? Are you like starting to look at different places, or how's like the exploration happening? If there is any, I don't know.
Like we're still we're looking around, kind of like window shopping, you could say. When it comes to houses, like. Right now, our plan is just trying to see, like, what we're even going to study, or, like...
Yeah.
What career we're going to look to make our, like, focal point, or something. Mm-hmm. Like, for me, I'm just always bouncing around with that. Like, at one point, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to be an airplane pilot. But it's like, oh, but, like, I have to go through, like, all this schooling and...
Yeah, it's a lot.
And also, like... I don't feel like my vision has been the best recently.
So maybe that's not the route.
Yeah, like, and it's just that thing, like, where, like, I think about a career option, and I just think about, like, like, oh, like, maybe I'll go into, like, like, what's it called? Like, a, like, like...
I don't know.
No, it has a specific name, but it's, like, having a bit to do with like computer engineering, but it's like for like the security side of it.
Cybersecurity.
Cybersecurity. Yeah.
But
but there's just so much math to it too.
Yeah.
I'm really not the best at math. Like.
Yeah, I mean, I also think that whatever thing that you really want to do, like it's okay if you're not good at it. Like especially when you're starting out, like. I would always approach it assuming that I'm like shit at what's gonna be in front of me, and it's gonna be shit for a while, and it's part of it, at some point like you started to like trail up the learning curve, and you hit a point, but yeah, I mean, if that's something that you like want to pursue, like don't, it starts with like how you say that story, I think, like, and you tell us yourself a story that's possible first, but okay, I get a sense of that dream and like how it's connecting, and you said you had a dream journal when you were younger. What else do you remember from that journal?
One thing that I had written down one day, which was probably one of the craziest coincidences that like ever happened to me. Like if you could even call it a coincidence. But me and my mom kind of had like a interconnecting dream, you could say.
Oh,
like,
whoa.
Yeah, like
yeah.
we both dreamt about a I forgot where it was exactly. Like there was just kind of like a human stampede. Like there was just a whole bunch of no, there was just a whole bunch of like people running like down the street.
Oh wow.
And and I believe I forgot what even led up to it, but like I was like getting trampled on by a whole bunch of people,
Oh, wow.
and then like my mom reached out her hand and like took me out of there,
Oh
and
shit.
she dreamed it from her point of view. So it's
No way.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah,
so how did you find out?
because like I totally like I had woken up and I was like, oh, that was a strange dream.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
but my mom, like, when I got into the kitchen and I was gonna make myself breakfast, she had come up and told me like, oh hey, like I had this like weird dream, like,
Whoa.
and I was like, wait, what? Like, that was like the dream I had.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
Like, I mean, I feel like it's just maybe like a crazy coincidence or something.
Murphy's Law.
Like yeah, I mean, anything that
Yeah.
can happen will happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's. I was reading this book a while back on like coincidences and I don't know, whatever. But there's like I think two parts to like a coincidence. One is the processing of that moment, and then two is like the mere chance, like the intersection of chance. You know, like as an outside force. You know. So I can imagine how like uncanny that must have felt hearing your mom say something that you just experienced.
Yeah.
But maybe you weren't even gonna talk about it.
I wasn't.
You know?
Like it was just gonna be one of those things. Like okay, well,
Yeah.
I like it was an interesting dream, but like, and I'll be thinking about it. But like, I didn't think it would be that much more than that.
Yeah.
And then like, I remember searching it up in one of those meaning of dream like websites.
Oh, right.
Like on like Human Stampede, and there was like a specific thing that like it was supposedly supposed to symbolize, but.
Yeah. So I mean, you're in there's like a running crowd. What's the setting? Do you kind of remember?
I remember like
A city.
a road made out of like kind of like one of those like roads that has like stones and like
okay.
concrete.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Kind of like
Old school road.
Yeah, old school. Like I got Mexico. I like.
Okay.
Which is weird. Going
Yeah.
back to that.
There's a sense of location in
Yeah.
Mexico again. Interesting. Okay, but okay, so you're in that kind of road, in like a little like village or something, or in the middle of nowhere. Which one is it?
It's like in a village, I'd say.
Okay, it's a little village, and is it like the town folk running,
Like
or is it not a specific kind of person?
it's not really a specific kind of person,
Okay.
I'd say. Like the people themselves weren't like a big focal point of memory. It was kind of like
right.
that there was people.
Yeah.
Like,
So they're like a blur almost, running,
yeah,
but you know they're running.
Like I could remember like a red shirt, like
okay.
like someone with just short hair, like,
Mhm.
but like but just a blur of them. Like their
Yeah.
faces weren't really like there in my head.
Yeah, and you're being trampled.
Yeah, and I could see the trampling from third person and then like first person as well.
Oh shit! Okay,
So,
yeah. So
like-
kind of in between. You know, I think that happens. I don't know, like if y'all have had this, but I think a reason that happens is like if you play video games a lot,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
have like third person
Yeah,
and
it's
first person
crazy.
dreams, and it's like I remember when I was playing a lot. I don't know when, but at some point in my life I was playing a lot of GTA, like a chronic amount. And those dreams, I would like die and respawn. I don't know, have you ever had that, something like that?
Like
Before?
I have like I've had dreams similar to that where like
Mm.
like I die and then like I respond and I'm like, oh okay.
Yeah, it's like a symptom of being a fucking geek.
A gamer.
I
Yeah.
had a dream where I die and I can, like, I'm dead.
Mhm.
I'm there on the ground,
Mm.
but I'm like conscious of the fact that I'm sitting there dead.
Oh, so
Oh, yeah, me
you have the
too.
outsider
But I like
perspective.
kind of like I don't know like if you would imagine like in a video game, you know, like when you die, and there's like 8 to 10 seconds that it takes for you to respawn or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're
Those
just
8 to 10 seconds.
Oh, the camera's loading
expended.
out,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Whoa. But okay, so I want to get into like the mindset of that a little bit, on you being like stepped on by like a group of people. It's kind of symbolic. Do you? Cause okay, let me say some things that I've learned, and then I want to hear how like they relate to your experience in the dream. So overnight, like we'll have a bunch of dreams, but the only ones we remember are the ones that like elicit an emotional reaction out of you. You know, kind of like that's how we create memories, also.
Yeah.
You know, but the difference is that a memory your brain holds out of a need to survive, to like be like, oh, don't do that again or do that again. You know, but in a dream, it doesn't need to hold that information. And some people kind of like speculate that the function of dreaming, like from a survival perspective, is to play out a scenario and kind of get a sense of how you would react to it, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, you remember the dreams that like create that more emotional like spike, you know, in your like brain. And so obviously this is one you remembered and you can recite now, so it must be well buried, you know, in the brain. And I tend to see that some of those dreams we remember as a means, as like an extension of the psychology, you know. So while we forget most dreams, that kind of some people like have like a really good, you know, recall. But while we forget like most dreams, I have a sense that the ones that we don't forget, we remember it as a means to attach to some part of like our identity or psychology, you know. So like with that said, I'm curious what you like, how you think you being, or I guess the question is like, of all people, it was your mom that pulled you out of the crowd. Like, what? How did you make sense of that? What do you think of that?
Well, like out of like my mom and dad, I would say my mom has mostly been the one to like be there and like listen to like
Me too. That's why I said like that.
like yeah, different like situations I had gone through in school. Like like in terms of like elementary to like middle school, like just like dealing with like bullies and stuff. Like
yeah. She was there to comfort you a lot.
Yeah. A lot. Like and yeah, she's just been there like quite a bit.
Yeah, okay, I get that. And you had this dream when you were younger? Or...
I had it because, I had it when I had the dream journal, which, it wasn't like 4 years ago. I'd say it was like 6 or like 7 years ago, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Far back.
Yeah, so a bit far back. Like, I think I was like, was that still in high school? Yeah, so.
Yeah, so that like sense of like comfort and safety from your mom is something embedded in the way that you like hold a relationship with her.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Nice. And you pointed out that she would maybe I like connected the pieces here, I'm not sure. But it sounded like she would help you like process or be there for you when you were bullied before.
Yeah.
Do you mind, can I ask like how she helped, you know, like when you were like experiencing that kind of bullying, like how was she there for you?
Like I would just tell her that like, you know, I had like a bad day or something, and you know, she'd make like my like comfort food, like she'd always make me like this chicken that was like breaded.
Yeah.
But as a little kid, I always called it like pollo aguado.
Why?
Which, because it was like soft chicken.
Okay.
And but it was just breaded chicken.
Okay.
I didn't know how to properly like describe it.
Yeah.
And my mom had like adopted that name since. Like,
Oh, that's does she still use it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
That's cute.
And yeah, like that's always just been one of my comfort foods. And she would make that, you know, she would just like she would just comfort me. I'd say,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
hug,
On your hard days as a kid.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
and just say like, yeah, you know, people can be so mean. And
People
stuff
can
like
be
that.
mean.
Like
Yeah.
'cause,
We were mean. I feel like
We were.
I remember bullying a lot of kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that.
Seriously. I mean, we had like a weird chip on our shoulders when we were kids, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I remember this fucked up.
I think I know which story you're gonna say.
Let's say when we were like 5th grade, I think we were like bullying.
Mark?
Yeah, Mark. Yeah. Fuck, man. I'm so sorry.
That will never. I'll
I'm
never
so
live that
sorry.
down.
And I remember like.
It was for nothing. You know?
Yeah, reflecting on it some years ago, I was like, why do we do that?
Yeah.
Wait, who?
Mark Reyes.
Mark,
Yeah,
I think
Actually, we knew 2 Mark Reyes.
Yeah.
I think I remember.
I'll blur out that last name, but yeah, I just like I was reflecting, and I didn't like remember. I like my only memory in that was like running through the playground after like pushing down the slide or something.
Yeah.
Like it's not really clear, but it was for sure fucked up, and I have a guilt around that for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we took someone who was like really like, you know, he was like a pretty sheepish kid. Like he just kind of wanted to do his thing, and he didn't really have that many friends. We had no reason to pick on him.
Yeah,
So,
we had no reason.
well, like I said, we thought we were fucking cool or something.
Yeah.
I don't want to justify our behavior or anything like that, but
No.
like I said, we had chips on our shoulders.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? Like, it is shitty, and I recognize that.
For sure.
And yeah, I also see like we were also kids, you know. So like, I mean, can you blame a kid for punching another one if that kid doesn't really know more about the world? Like
Right.
you can, I think in the right environment, growing up, not the right environment. That's not. I don't like that saying because I don't think that there's like a right or wrong environment to grow up in. I think there's just environments and how we adapt.
True.
You know, but some can have that effect that that leads to like what happened with us. You know, we're like I don't know whatever our environments were. Like it did for some reason lash out on this kid.
Yeah.
And it was fucked up.
For sure.
For sure. Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad. I didn't think I was gonna be talking about.
Yeah,
I'm so
dude.
sorry, Mark.
Dude,
I'm
Mark,
fucking sorry.
To any Mark out there, dude.
Yeah, yeah. But this was before we were in Olive.
Yeah.
Olive is the elementary
Yeah.
school.
So y'all know each other since elementary?
That's true.
Yeah, since like 5th grade, over the sweater
Over the
and
sweater.
non-sweater. Also bullying.
Also bullying. Right? Bullying. You know what? Maybe Mark ended up being a CEO because we bullied his ass.
Yeah,
I don't take that shit
I hope
back.
he's like, I don't know, he's like the one in front of Apple or something. Yeah, some bullshit.
Like
Sure, he's doing all right.
but yeah, like and I feel like cause like kindergarten I would say it was like there wasn't really any sense of like bullying, like for me at least. Like
Yeah.
I don't the kids we were just kind of like, oh hey, it's another day of school, you know.
Yeah.
It was probably like heading into like 2nd grade to like 5th grade, like from there that it just started kind of ramping up more for me.
Yeah.
Because it was more or less when like cliques were forming and like
Oh, gotcha.
and there was like kind of like a way of being that in my head I was never able to get. Like I like something that I say now is that like I was trying really hard to like find my like personality.
Yeah.
And I never really had like a like friend group to go to. Like I would go to like I would just try to like get into this circle and like, but and you know like they'd have me, but then like you know.
Yeah. Did you not feel like you could connect really, or what was the tension there?
Yeah, I guess it was kind of that, but I was also like very annoying because like.
I wouldn't
like,
think so, dude.
No, no, yeah, like
Yeah.
I was like very annoying because it was kind of like.
Your superpower.
But like I was like extra annoying because like, I don't know, like, because like I would just try my best to be funny, and and that's another concept I was trying to like grasp as well. Like funny
Yeah,
because like some people it came like naturally, but to me like there were certain things that I found funny. Oh,
Is
what?
that good? I
So-
just had to restart it.
Oh, okay.
No, but the audio's you're good.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so you're trying to grasp the concept of being. Oh, nice out there. Are you gonna pray? All right, we'll pray.
Nah,
Yeah.
Sorry for that.
No, you're
No,
good.
you're
You're
good. Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah, a little setup.
Great.
Podcast vibes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you're trying to grasp the concept of being funny.
yeah, and a lot of the times, like, I would try to, like, mirror, like, I was watching maybe some cartoon, I would, like, and I would see that there was a main character that was, like, you know, like, that everybody liked, or was the main character.
Yeah.
And, like, I would try to mirror that, but then sometimes, you know, like, as a kid, I didn't see, like, why maybe they didn't like the character, even though he was the main character,
Yeah.
and, like, kind of thing. So,
I would venture to say that you're being maybe a little bit too down on yourself. I would say that, like, trying to be funny and fitting in is, like, a societal response for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and this is coming from, you know, you said earlier that you didn't really feel like you had, like, a friend group to attach to. I mean, I think all of us as kids had that sort of same vibe.
Trying to figure it out.
But like for example, like maybe you didn't see that so much in like Santiago and I, because like we had our friend group. Like I didn't really need to try to be funny for anybody, right? Because I had like my friends and they already knew the type of humor that we had and stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I don't know. I wouldn't really say that it was annoying. It was just like you trying your best to do what you thought was right to get friends and make people laugh and stuff. I don't think that there should be anything negative associated with that.
Yeah.
Annoying is like it's like a weird word, right? Because you get it. Nobody wants to be called annoying. It sucks.
No, yeah.
Right. But you know, like I mean, it depends, I guess, on how you use it. Right now, I feel like the way that you're using it is like annoying, like vitriol, like oh, dude, it's this person again, like no, not like I wouldn't say it like that. It's like annoying, like almost like endearing.
It is. I would say it's more endearing because like. Even looking back, there's a lot of things that I felt very cringy about, you know, about who I was, and I think it's like, it's one thing, like, experiencing that for yourself and going through the emotions of being cringy, you know, or, like, embarrassing or saying some bump, or just trying to fit in, like, trying to be cool, you know, and then it's, like, a whole other thing, like, being on the outside, like, not... Because I don't know, I guess in my experience, like, I always had, like, a similar sense that, like, I, like, wanted to fit in, and, for me, some of that stemmed from, like, it was very abstract to me growing up, like, what it was to, like, be undocumented. Like, there was no ground, it was just, like, wow, everyone's going to school, like, you know, we're all the same. Like, that was my child thought. There were effects I didn't realize until, like, I had gotten out of school, and, like, it became, like, jobs and like legal, like real legal shit. Yeah. But yeah, that sense of like trying to discover who you are, it is really embarrassing. You know, because you're trying shit and like it doesn't always land. Yeah. You know, it's for sure part of like that growing up experience. You know, but I want to like transition into a question I like to ask, and I like to ask both of you. But I'll start with you. No, I'll start with you, and then we'll transition to you, because I do want to hear more about the ones you have.
Sure.
But it's a simple question. It's, what is your first memory? Or dream. It could be either or. Both are
I remember my first memory.
Yeah.
I was at Circus.
Oh, whoa. Yeah.
So, and there was like this little like mini game there. Like, and in my mind, like, I remember winning it and then getting this turtle that had like, it was like a little plushy turtle with like a little like sunflower on top kind of thing. Like, it was like a like beanbag game where you have to like toss the beanbag into like the tic-tac-toe and like.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
if you hit 3 in a row, it's
then,
like you would win?
Then you would win.
Oh, okay.
And I remember, like, thinking I did it, and I was, like, super excited. But then, when I had asked my mom later, like, oh, you remember that memory? Like, yeah, like, you had lost that one, but, like... but they gave...
They altered it.
but they gave you one, like, anyway.
Oh, so in your head, you had
so
one?
Yeah.
Oh, whoa.
But that's my earliest memory. I think I was, like, three then.
Damn, isn't
Like,
that wild? Like,
And that's when I was like gaining consciousness, you know?
yeah, your first grasp at object permanency.
It was
Permanency.
like crazy that we just gained consciousness out of nowhere. Like, oh shit.
Yeah, and that's why I like to ask this question, because I feel like it's like the first touch of consciousness.
Yeah.
You know, it's like real vague, those memories, but it's funny to me that you thought you won. Like
I
this kind of
did for the
thing.
longest time.
I can see that because they give you the thing like you
Yeah.
win, and that's
Yeah.
what creates like the you know, in you. Yeah, that's silly. But yeah, what about you? What's your first memory or dream?
I think it's a memory. I don't even know if it's really the first one, but every single time that I've been asked this question, that's the one that I latch onto.
Oh,
So I
gotcha.
usually, I mean, I was pretty young either way,
Mhm.
but it's a memory of my mom, and she's vacuuming.
Okay.
This like I may be like 3 or 4. I would have to be 4, I would say, because my little sister is in the memory,
Yeah.
and she's a baby, very very young.
Yeah.
And my mom is vacuuming. Both my grandparents from my mom's side are there. They're on this couch that we used to have. And my grandpa's sitting there and he's having a good time. My grandma's sitting there, she's having a good time. I was vacuuming, and my little sister is at the very least at the time, was very afraid of the vacuum. And so she already, was on edge and she wasn't really enjoying it. And my mom had my mom, when she was like a younger mom, she had this thing that she loved to do, which like terrorize us with stuff. Like my mom knew that I didn't like cockroaches, so like she would kill a cockroach and then pick it up and like chase me around with it.
God damn.
And so she saw that the vacuum would elicit a response from my little sister, so she would like approach her with the vacuum.
Yeah.
And so my grandpa picks her up and he's like, dude, leave her alone. And his feet are like this flat, and my mom was pretending like to vacuum up his toes.
Oh,
And my little sister like
She
lost
it.
her mind
Fuck,
completely.
dude.
That, like I said, I'm pretty sure, like, because sometimes my parents will be like, oh yeah, dude, like, remember this, like this, or we were doing this and this, and I'll be like, no, yeah, like I know this, like, and then we did this and this, and then they're like, what, like you were like 3, but
Yeah.
it's like in the moment that I pick up on those memories, not so much like where I'm just sitting here and I'm like, yeah, that one, you know.
Yeah. It's really interesting to me how like also sometimes when I ask that question, like people can't always tell if that first memory is like a happened or didn't happen thing.
Right. Oh, okay.
You know, but it sounds very grounded for you though. Like
I'm very certain about this one.
Yeah.
It's fascinating though. Like I love that sort of idea of like the first memory, because you would think with how like important the first few years of like a child's life are, that there would be more memories there.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe
true.
I would remember my first steps considering how important that is, right?
Yeah.
Or like maybe I would remember my first word because I said it, you know?
Yeah.
But I
yeah.
remember some dumb shit about a vacuum and toes.
But you know who remembers those things? Your parents.
It's true, and I love that.
Yeah.
I really do love I'm very, very thankful for it, but 2 people in my family have been very, very good about collecting memories.
Yeah.
My grandma and my aunt, my madrina, she they both are very good at collecting these pictures and memories and like mementos from moments past, and it's really nice to connect. Sometimes like my grandma, like, you know, she'll have brought one album and I'll look through it and I'll be like, wow, that's sick. And then, like, you know, next time she comes, she actually has another album with more stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated by that. It's like a weird fascination because I don't like history, right? Like, nobody likes to learn about whatever the fuck, Abraham Lincoln, whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, I think memories that are, at least for me, history that is, like, just barely out of my reach is, like, really interesting to me. Like, for example, we grew up in Baldwin Park, right? And we were told that, you know, in 48, that's when In-N-Out started, right? There in Baldwin Park. And it's sick. They have the thing right there, right? But it's always interesting. You always look at the picture, right? The picture is like this, and it's of the little shack where the In-N-Out burger is.
Yeah.
There is a picture that my grandma has from, I don't even know how the fuck she has it, but of pretty much that picture, just this way.
and I can see more stuff.
Oh,
right?
Well,
like
yeah.
more stuff that like what I associate that with there being like a gym there, and there's like a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
There's like a freeway, but in this picture there is no freeway. There is no like gym here. It's Baldwin Park as it was in 1948. But it's interesting because all you see is this. You don't really like. We've never really grasped the concept of like take for example like the picture of like the woman in the Dust Bowl. You've seen it. Mrs. Barnes had it. It's like the mom and she's got the kids.
Yeah.
Think about that picture, right? So somebody sat there and they took that picture. Think about what would if you would see that picture the same, but just from from their profile.
Yeah, you'd gather so much random
so much
information
more like what's going on over here.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure they were like waiting for food and stuff. You would see the people who were waiting for food.
Yeah.
You would see that's why like the concept of video to me is so sick.
Yeah, I see
because like the picture holds one moment.
Yeah.
One single moment in time. They say it's got 1,000 words, of course. Really.
Sure.
But like how many more words can be said just by moving the camera a little bit more?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You're given a lot more information.
Yeah, there's a lot of context given it.
About him. I never really thought about it like that, and now it just makes me wonder like how much because I mean when I was in like film classes and all that we learned like some of the history of like photography and all that stuff, and it's really strange. But like actually for decades, like the U.S. government would shoot a lot of stuff in black and white to date it.
Oh.
Like not even like at that point we were well into color film, and even in World War II, like color film was already a thing. But they would shoot a lot of it in black and white just to make it like to expand the concept of like it being an older thing.
That's really cool.
And it was a power thing, So when cameras were first around, they were really inaccessible.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a luxury thing to have, like a really expensive computer or something, like a Tesla or whatever.
Like the new Apple goggles.
Yeah, the Apple goggles, the 35. Yeah, so it was very inaccessible, and at first, a lot of who that was allocated for was the government, and then I think we had like the commercial cameras like Canon and Kodak and all that stuff like come out and kind of make like a more like personable experience, with it. But we were talking about cameras that were like fucking massive pinholes, But yeah, a lot of that technology was gate kept, much how like a lot of technologies still get gate kept. But yeah, it makes me wonder how selective of a history they captured versus what we like. Things we'll just never know. Something simple as like different position or another picture of the same scenario.
I mean, they say like we are what we leave behind.
Yeah,
right?
That's crazy. So like, it kind of freaks me out a little bit because I'm like, whoa, like. In a sense, we're like living through like filters of
For
of
sure.
information.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the way that I have always seen that concept is like how they say like if a tree fell in the forest and no one heard it, did it really fall?
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting to me that with as many people as have lived in history, like you get a select few, right? Everything else is sort of generalized, right? They tell you that in 1942 there was the Dust Bowl and that a lot of people died. Right. But you can never get the microscope on the circumstances of the individual, right? Only like, let's just say, oh yeah, my grandma was there and she said it sucked ass.
Yeah. Or some good book that came out of that moment.
Yeah. That's all you get. But even then, it's just the account of the person who's writing the book, right?
Yeah.
Like it'll never ever be like you're there and you experience it.
Yeah.
That's gone forever.
Yeah, like a full experience.
Yeah.
It's really weird. And I don't know, like... It like what the question that's kind of popping up in my head is like how am I? You might be asking yourself too, like how am I capturing my life? How am I filtering myself in a way, so that like when older generations do look back, like they'll see like a perception of me, but they won't be here.
Right.
They won't know like our little details about how we like. Maybe a little more now because of all the way we have to like record, like things that are happening. But yeah, to the degree of like just experiencing life next to that person, it's incomparable. Yeah. And I mean,
it's nice. On one hand, it's nice, right? It's like kind of personable. You can kind of. I think of like the last scene of like Endgame. Avengers Endgame,
Oh, okay.
where he asked him like, oh, do you want to tell me about her? With reference to the wedding ring, and he says no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He says no, I won't tell you, right? And it's interesting, like that's it, and he takes that to the
That's
grave,
it.
and like I mean, we get a glimpse, right, as an audience through him, like
Yeah.
vicariously,
Yeah.
but like it's that's it, like that's his memory to take to the grave, right?
And now this person will never know.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Like I mean, everybody I'm sure has a secret that they'll absolutely take with themselves to the grave, despite how captured our lives are today.
Yeah,
I could sit here and I could talk about everything in my life, and if I omit just that one thing, that's a memory that's just mine and mine alone.
Yeah, and it's rich also because like I think that's like part of the strangeness and like luxury of like existing.
Yeah.
Is that like deep personal like privacy, and then also. Oh, you should. The shoe. Yeah, there's like this like rich like privacy that we have the like privilege to experience, when we're alive. Something that goes away that like generations on will only have like a filtered version, And every now and then, like, if you keep a notebook, if one of them stumbles like on this notebook, they might have a door into your world that maybe wasn't intended. Kind of like that one, who was it? I don't even remember, but the person who painted, what's it called? It was like in his like kitchen. It's like this painting of like Zeus or eating his son. It's an old painting. It's very graphic though.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I find it, I'll like put it somewhere on the screen. But yeah, this painter I'm gonna just give vague details because that's all I know. But from a very long time ago, it's a real famous piece. Would paint for like wealthy people. When painting was way inaccessible.
Right.
And when he died, they came into his house and they found it wasn't even a painting on the wall. It was painted on the wall, a violent picture of like the story of, I think it was Zeus eating his son or something like that. But one of the like Greek gods, like eating another like half god.
Classic banger.
Yeah. And they're holding like the body, like it's like a little human-ish.
Yeah,
Have you seen it? Yeah.
It's like decapitated, isn't it? They
like
the head off or something.
Head's chewed off. Yeah. And it's really like, but it was painted in this dude's like kitchen, and it wasn't like information that he wanted.
Bye guys.
Bye.
It wasn't information. See ya. It wasn't information that he wanted like anyone to know, but he just died, and they came into his like kitchen. They're like, "What the fuck is this?" And then they carved it out and sold it.
Yeah,
as usual.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting. Like that's like a cool story of like someone finding an art piece or whatever. But then there's just like so many more ways to spin that story, right? Your grandpa dies peacefully. You're like, oh great, sad. Let's go, let's go see his house for memories, and you find out he's like a killer or something. And you're like, what?
Whoa,
it's completely different spin. Than as he presented himself, even in real life to you, like just behind the scenes was different.
Yeah, I'm personally very fascinated with that concept of like almost like a dual identity.
Yeah.
Or like a like I don't know. I don't even know. I think for everyone it's like described differently. For me, I definitely felt for a long time that I was like, a part of me was like hiding another part of me. Like I was like withdrawing from, and the way that it played out in my life was like just being honest and like open about what my experiences are, and realizing that I was like, a big part of me was just like afraid of like vulnerability. It had really, but it had manifested into like this like hidden like persona, kind of thing. And it was bad. It was like for me really bad, especially when I was in like college, and like there was a point where I was like really really broke, like super broke. But I was like I really had like this need to smoke weed every day, like, and for me, I realized like it was a very like psychological addiction, because like the actual plant isn't like addictive itself.
Right.
But so for a long time, like I remember I was so broke, but I really wanted to smoke that I would do these things that were like now I look back and I'm like, holy shit. Like I would look in the all my housemates smoked, I would look in the carpet for like little things, like nugs they had
Damn.
dropped, and I'd like,
Wow.
yeah, pick them up and put them
Fiending.
into a little pipe, and then like, yeah, I was literally fiending to the max,
crazy.
dude. Or like, I remember one time like, I had all these like cartridges, and I really wanted to smoke, and I have like a little rolling paper, so I laid out the rolling paper. And I melted the wax from the cartridges all onto this like, rolling paper. Yeah, I was in the fucking trenches,
That's
dude.
the fucking.
And yeah, like this like extended like shadow self version of me, kind of how I would like describe it, had like popped out. And now I understand that like through like the last like I would say like almost 2 years, almost 3, closer to 2, like over 2. But and like learning about like mental health and kind of like going into that direction, I learned that the shadow self is like it's created and it plays in the world when you can't like articulate or communicate your emotions. You know, so when you don't have the capacity, or you just don't know how to communicate like your internal world. Well, a lot of times manifests into this shadow version of you that kind of feels like they have to hide this other person, you know, inside of you. And so that was like really clearly manifesting for me, and in a bunch of other like subtle ways that like took years of like therapy and like unlearning to kind of be able to like articulate, oh, like I was doing this or I was doing that, you know. I think more recently, and I had talked about this on the other episode, I'd learned about my experience of coping with pain, and I realized in my life that how I coped with pain was I had in my childhood grown up, and whenever there was pain in our house or from one person, that's when I would be like tended to, you know, like as a child, you know, like I felt like there was real and genuine care there.
Right.
But in a way where it was also a real challenge for us to communicate emotions like on a day-to-day basis, you know, what I think I consider like more healthy to be, you know. And there's no blame there because, I mean, they're using the tools that they had best, and so was I, you know, it's just life. But, yeah, for years of my life, like, I would, in my grown life, like, seek out experiences of pain as a means to, like, feel that comfort again, you know? And I saw how that played a lot, and then some of that was through my shadows, like, my shadow self or whatever. But, yeah, I'm really fascinated with that concept of, like, the mask and, like, the hiding and the other character, you know, in you. And I'm still working through it. It's not like to say that, you know, like things are... I don't actually ever think you hit a point where you're like I think there was a concept in me before that there was like this perfect phase where I finally would learn that lesson and be that guy.
Right.
But that actually, I realized it never comes.
Of course.
And I think that's when, for me, I realized like that, like self-care and like mental health shit, like has to be like an active process.
Sure.
You know, I have to make time for it on a weekly basis, and that's what like helps me feel sane. You know, I think we all have things in our life that we need to make us feel sane and like here, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. What do you think? How do you relate to any of that?
It's interesting that you mentioned it like that. You know, because I've had a really painful journey with mental health, and it's been a really rough sort of I don't want to say journey, because journey is like such like a weird word, but it's pretty much a journey. It's been a rough path to go on, right?
Yeah.
Because I've always you know, and it sucks. A lot of the things that I've had to struggle with mental health, it's been like, I consider myself very lucky. There's a lot of people who are currently struggling with mental health, and they are struggling alone. Yeah. I would consider myself one of those people that I was at the time of my lowest points, completely alone.
Yeah.
And that's a really scary thing to navigate, specifically when it gets to the point of self-harm,
and potentially like ending your own life and
Yeah.
stuff. It's like a really weird balance. A lot of people, don't make it. I'm completely conscientious of that.
Yeah.
I am completely aware that's the case.
Yeah.
And I like I said, I consider myself very very blessed that I was able to somewhat navigate it, without kind of any sort of help, I guess.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of introspection, which it looks like you've been able to do, and a lot of people do. A lot of people do have like an inner voice.
Yeah.
A lot of people do have like inner monologues with themselves, and sometimes you have to kind of assess yourself, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things. I also consider myself very blessed in that sense, where maybe if I had nothing at all, right, it would have been a completely different conversation. But feeling that I had things to cling to, or at the very least finding that I had things to cling to, was like a really big push in that direction.
Yeah.
But like I said, also being able to have, I would say, a really, really strong voice with myself, considering the fact that I didn't have a support system, right? I didn't have people to talk to, know where to turn.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of become like my own best friend and kind of sit there and ask myself like, well, how do we see this? How do we see that?
Yeah.
And through that introspection and sort of with conversations in therapy and with people who are a lot more versed in this stuff than I am, I've kind of been able to draw it up as like a road, right? And I know that that's like, pretty cliche. It's not anything too special, but it is a road, right? And sometimes, let's just say you're on the road and life is a walk on said road, right?
Yeah.
You start off and things are a little bit bumpy because everything is so new. You don't really know the terrain, and so you're kind of navigating blind, right? But eventually you kind of get into like a nice little pace, and things run pretty smoothly for the most part for most people, right? This is like a circumstance that is, I want to say, generalized just for most people, right? Obviously people have rough childhoods and stuff, but for most, you go to school, you make friends turn into whatever. But I would say that once I feel like once you get complacent in that, that's when things start to kind of differ, right? You meet people and they join you on the walk, right? That you're on this walk.
Yeah.
Sometimes their paths just so happen to linger or align with yours, so they walk with you, and then other times, like, oh well, it's time for me to go this way and for you to go that way, and that's life, right?
Yeah.
But you keep going, right?
Yeah.
And then I would say that around the time that you reach like adolescence, when you become a lot more aware of who you are and a lot more aware of like what you're doing, right? When you're a kid, it's like the novelty, right? You're on your walk and you're like, wow, all this stuff, right? You kind of don't. But when that scene gets a little bit old, you start kind of maybe looking down and becoming very aware of like
what
about
happened,
your situation, right? Like that you're walking and that the road is maybe getting a little uglier or whatever. Anyway, like you said, like life, the road, I think maybe like at some point you got to realize like the road that you're on, it's not gonna be smooth all the time, even when you find yourself in like a really pretty scenery, right? Like no matter what you do, no matter what road you're on, something's gonna happen, right? There's gonna be something. There's gonna be a pothole. There's gonna be a, I don't know, something. You're gonna trip and fall, right?
Yeah, like just life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's all unique to the person's situation. Maybe you fall and that's it. You don't want to get back up, and that happens to people, right?
Yeah, I really appreciate how you said that, like that feeling of like loneliness and solitude is very real.
Yeah.
And it's I think it's a fight everyone has to put up with just, it's like one of those things that comes with existing.
Yeah.
You're like, oh fuck, like everyone has like that moment or moments or like chunks of their life even where you do feel really alone, and I think something that kind of helped me understand, well, one, I think in my own experience, I realized how when I was in those moments of solitude, a lot of those moments was about running away from that solitude. I was scared to be by myself, you know, and I remember like having fear. Not, it wasn't like a very obvious fear to me, but it would manifest in the form of like deep extroversion, where like I really didn't want to be with myself so much that I would like interact with all kinds of people to like an unhealthy degree, you know. And it really was barely like in the last year since moving out here, you know, that's part of the challenge and part of the reason why I wanted to go somewhere new.
Right.
It's just to be in a place where I don't know what's happening, and I kind of have to like redefine the way that I like approach life, you know. And part of that was like learning and still learning to be okay with the fact that most of life is with myself, you know, and turning that like loneliness into like a sense of independence, where like I try to raise like the quality of my own life, and it's so fucking funny, but like the simplest shit, like going on a walk every day, or like I like eat the same thing pretty much every day, with the exception of like just random, you know, like whatever. Sometimes I don't, but most of the time I like have that smoothie for breakfast, and then I'll have like eggs for lunch, you know, and like pasta or like rice and like vegetables for dinner. And to me, I found that grounded me a lot, you know, just like I feel like I created a little recipe of food that I love how they taste. Like I look for, like when I wake up, I'm like, oh, that smoothie's coming, you know, and it's like I'm ready to hit it. Yeah, it for me is about like creating that sense of independence, and at the same time, like it's not that the loneliness goes away. You know, it's very real, and it's like part of still existing. You know, and sure, like having that groundedness of like the day-to-day stuff does help. But I will say, like, those moments still come up, you know, and I think something I've tried doing is that in some of my like more upbeat days, like when I feel like I'm good and stuff, like I'll try to like reach out to some of my homies and just check in, you know, and just to like also I realize like part of like being okay with how life is building like quality friendships,
For sure.
you know, and like just having like a nice balance, and that balance can't be with everyone though.
That's true.
I realize, you know, like some people I feel like haven't worked through their own things, or they're just on not even that, like I'll take that back, but like they're just in a different part of their life,
For sure.
you know. And I've realized the people that are important for me to keep close and keep in like a constant communication loop with are people who have like good communication skills, like can tell me how they feel even when it's hard. Like I made time the other day, it's kind of silly, but like I have a friend, shout out Nelly, but I have a friend Nelly, and I remember we were talking, and it's kind of like, it's gonna sound so toxic, but it's not. I was like, hey, like, how come we've never fought before? You know?
And just looking for beef?
Yeah. No, I was like, I'm
right
not,
here, right now.
I'm not looking for nothing. Like, I just want to know, like, are you, like, I want that person to be themselves with me, even if we don't agree to, like, the 100%, you know, which is fine. And so I asked her, I was like, you know, like, is there anything that you want to like let me know, like in our friendship, that maybe you haven't communicated before, that you know I just want to like have space for it?
Right.
And she was like, oh man, I actually don't want to say because it's her story, and you know she's not here to speak for herself, so I'm not going to say it. But we basically learned a new like dynamic in our relationship, and how to like communicate in a way where we create common ground instead of working off common sense. I think when people work off of common sense, that's them approaching relationships from expectation, you know, versus standard.
Well,
So
'cause common sense is not really all that common. Is
yeah,
it?
exactly. Yeah, and yeah, I feel like I've come to see like how some of like my bigger arguments in life with people have been out of expectation.
For sure.
You know,
For sure.
rather than
Yeah.
like creating a common ground with that person.
Yeah.
Kind of building a bridge to see like what works in
Yeah.
our dynamic.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a really humbling experience to do that as well, right? Because, like, look no further than like our relationship in high school, right? It was two. I would want to say, and I don't want to speak for your situation, but I can speak for mine certainly.
Yeah.
It was a case of colossal ego, right?
Yeah.
Right, and especially in growing up in this generation that we grew up in, where towards like the part where we're like most vulnerable to like really weird and dumb shit, that's when we were exposed to really weird and dumb shit. And like having like this like I'm right, you're wrong mentality.
Yeah.
You know, and like being in like this sort of like wild west of communication where you have, you know, like some of like the really large influences are telling you like, no, yeah, say what you want, because then everyone can say what they want and that's equal, right?
Yeah.
And then there's like another part that's like, no, like, you know, don't fucking say any of that, right?
Yeah.
All of that is wrong. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so now you like you get a bunch of weird discourse, right?
Yeah, and I think to my like understanding in the moment, a lot of my conversations were framed as like right or wrong.
Yeah.
Because of the environment I grew up in.
Of course.
Like that was actually something I had to learn again, and that's why like
Absolutely.
the way that I see the world now is not from the right or wrong perspective.
Exactly,
You know,
yeah.
but in that time, sure, dude.
Of course.
Like I would take offense to not feeling right.
Exactly.
Feeling right. Like
Just I
just wanted to feel that.
The feeling of being wrong is
Yeah.
like, well, no, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
and like it's crazy because like looking back on it, it's like, well, yeah, of course, of course, that instance, of course, I was wrong, right? Like what, like, you know, what could possibly be gained from having thought, but like it's just like this, like I'm telling you, like we were in a situation where, like, these people who we sort of like try to look to, right? Because we're adolescents and we're trying to look into becoming adults, and we have adults who are like presenting themselves in a manner where we're like, hey, like maybe that's kind of cool. Maybe I kind of want to go in this direction, and you try to grasp onto a lot of things that they're grasping, not really putting into check what they're saying.
Right.
And that's crazy because it's not unique to our situation, right?
Totally.
Like it was just the people who we happened to be admiring at the time, but that you can still see that today, right? Look no further than like kids who are being exposed to like Aiden Ross or like these content creators, like a lot of these large content creators that like don't have a filter or whatever. You get a lot of kids who are, or Andrew Tate, right? Who are looking to these people. They see like this masculine figure. They see this person who they think that they could be
like,
sorry, spoiler alert, you can't be like these people. They're not real people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a persona.
Exactly.
That you're looking up to.
So like what everything that you're trying to base your identity off of is fake, right? And now you are nobody really.
Yeah, I think for me, like in high school, one of those people I followed like deeply was I was a Jesus freak.
Of course.
You know.
Yeah, I was about to say
I had
that.
my moment.
Shout out Jesus.
Shout out. Oh shit.
Break. We're sponsored by water.
I gotta catch my breath here.
Thank you.
Oh, it's always like going up the stairs for me.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I always try to do the stairmaster in
I hate doing this.
the gyms. I love it. I love doing it, but I hate going upstairs.
Yeah.
I hate the gym.
Yeah, oh, put this. Make sure I'm seeing it. But yeah, I was a real Jesus freak.
Yeah.
I was like really set on being a priest.
I remember that.
In that part of my life. Felt like I was trying to convert everyone and their mother.
That's true.
Oh
I
yeah.
have a like cult approach to a lot of stuff. I feel like.
Like an obsessive, you mean?
Yeah, like it stems from this obsession of like wanting to feel right and like wanting to feel like I was chosen, you know?
Yeah.
I think that for me stemmed from like always feeling like I knew that
Sorry, excuse me.
I the only reason for years in my life knew and felt that I was different was because of my status. Like that was a clear marker for me to be like, and it was always like said to me, you know, like, oh, you're an immigrant, and I was like, what is that? As a kid, I didn't get it, you know. And so I think that played into my psychology a lot, you know, like feeling like I was different. And then that being played out into like this religious realm where when I was like in it, I almost wanted to prove that like, what did I even want? I felt like I just wanted to prove something, you know, like that was like the whole thing. It wasn't even like, but I think it was really interesting because, like, towards the end of that for me, I was, like, leading, like, youth retreats and giving talks and, you know, doing all that. And I found myself at some of those talks, like, this was something that I would consider shadow self also.
Okay.
But in some of those talks, like, I was giving information that wasn't accurate, you know? Like, I would be asked, like, oh, like, you know, how did God make like the planets and stuff? And I'd give some like bullshit answer, like I knew.
Threw him up.
yeah, like some like fake and
Oh yeah, I knew the guy.
Yeah.
Actually,
my cousin, God.
Yeah.
It was just like, I found myself like in a bundle of contradictions, you know, at the end of my experience being really religious. And I, at the same time, it was like this very fascinating intersection where I was reaching that bundle of contradictions that I was becoming like more self-aware about, that I'm like, wait, why am I saying these things if I don't really know?
Right.
And then at the same time, the other part of the intersection was like, so in my family, there's like a lot of like hallucinations and like auditory hallucinations that stem from one of my grandmothers being like schizophrenic, like to a degree that was like more on the extreme end, you know. That if I remember correctly had started with because my mom's mom, her husband I think had like killed somebody and she like seen it, and so that like created this like schizophrenic response, which now looking back is like if your mental health is already like not too well, and then something very extreme happens, kind of like in the movie we were watching, you know, like the car accident or like the outside factor you have no control over, but it's still very traumatic. In this case it was like a killing, and so that just created this like schizophrenic response, you know, for her. And schizophrenia is genetic, you know, so it's passed down, and in each generation like lesser in a lesser way or lesser degree, because the like what's it called, the person I mean the way it worked out in our family was like my dad doesn't have that history in his family, so the genetics mix, and you know it's like a lesser. But anyway, yeah, I remember in that intersection, some of the experiences that I had in high school around like my personal like auditory hallucinations were kind of what's the word? I'm trying to get in. Hello.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, some of those experiences now reflecting were out of like lack of sleep, you know, which I now understand to be like a big trigger, or high stress environments, which I feel like I was also in. And so, yeah, there was just moments that I think I remember telling you once where like I got like a phone call and like this really creepy voice like started talking to me, and I remember for like years I couldn't even talk about that because it was so surreal. And I'd be happy to share that, like the actual story after.
Okay. That memory really haunts me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You telling me that story? I always think about it.
Yeah. It was very. I don't really feel that anymore. But the reason I'm withholding from saying it here is because I'm like working on a film about that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, so I'm really interested in like developing that story. But anyway, yeah, there was just moments in that part of my life that had auditory hallucinations that when I would tell like religious community, they would start interpreting it as like, oh, like you're a saint. Like you're gonna be like this figure that fed into my own cycle of like wanting to prove something, you know.
So it really was like the perfect storm. Everything kind of culminating into something.
Yeah, and I was like, what's happening? And like some of the people in the community would start to call me like saying, they're like, it's your name, it's Santi, and I'm like, oh, like it felt like I just started to feel this really intense pressure. And I think it like peaked the day they had me go talk to like the Archbishop of LA. And I was just like, I felt very guilty because I knew that a lot of things I would say in these talks weren't grounded in a like reality. You know, it was me trying to make a point and forcing that point no matter what. And so I felt this intense guilt. I was hitting this bundle of contradictions. People in my community started, or like in the religious community, started to feel this sense that like there was like this holy aspect to me, which was a lot. Like I even remember talking to my godfather and explaining to him that same phone situation, and he like that night told me it was like God trying to like, he's like, the closer you get to God, the more demons you see, and like you know, like as a kid, like being fed this information, I'm like, oh my goodness, like
that's a lot.
It was a lot for sure. And at the end of high school, I was choosing between the seminary, UCSB, like the other schools I'd gone into. And I remember that's when like the crossroads was hitting a decision in my life, you know, and I had like this really existential moment where I was like, do I decide to go to the seminary and be a priest, or do I decide to go to university? And I decided university because, for a lot of reasons, I wanted to escape my house like real bad. But like on a philosophical realm, I came to this like weird idea that was like, what's the word? Like, it was almost like believing in God and in the church led me to non-belief. Where I remember thinking like, oh, if God is real, then I'm sure that God wouldn't want me to blatantly believe in this religion because it's just the first thing I know.
Yeah.
I felt like, oh, that God would probably want someone who explores a bunch of other options and then circles back if it's real, you know? So that was my system of logic. And so that's why I chose UCSB and jumped into the philosophy major after like a while being there. Yeah, learning a bunch of shit. Like, I just stopped believing. I was like, oh, like these other ideas are cool, you know, and circled around to a point of like, I wouldn't even know what I believe now, but I'm okay with that. You know, whatever.
It's interesting that's actually a somewhat observed theme. And people who get really deep into theocracy, you know, like a lot of theocratic scholars are actually atheists. There's a couple of them that I follow on TikTok who dedicate themselves pretty much. I mean, this is like probably more than I would do, right? But they dedicate themselves pretty much to dispelling a lot of like misinformation and like you know, there's a lot of Bible talk, you know, a lot of God TikTok and stuff like that, and that's fine. You know, some people need something to cling to, and I'm not going to be the one to be, you know, shitting and bashing on them, right? I think it does sometimes get to the point of harmful misinformation, right? Especially when it pertains to like the existence of LGBTQ plus people, and you know, amongst other things like the treatment of women and stuff like that within the Bible. But yeah, it really is interesting that how you would say like how you say like the if God existed type of thing, because
type beat.
Yeah, like a lot, at least you know, I'm not learned on the Bible myself, but a lot of like the content that I watch from some of these guys, it's like, no, well, yeah, like, I mean, if the real God existed, he's cruel, actually like extraordinarily cruel. He is like a very malevolent being, like just straight up like evil, pretty much. At least like by our small standards, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I'm not one to like sit here and shit on anyone else. Like, I mean, that's just like my own, not my own grasp from what I've been what I've been told, and I'm not gonna sit there and read the Bible because I kind of don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. That's a really scary way. I never got that opportunity to see like life through your lens, right?
Oh, yeah.
All I had the opportunity to see was like how it made me feel to see you be the way that you were being,
Yeah.
and me also having like a colossal ego.
Yeah.
Really made it so that it was like, oh, like this guy is playing hero. Like I can't stand this fucking guy right now. Like, you know what I mean? And like, but me who would have given anything to be in a position where I would have like something of your voice to be telling people my own fucking like I would have just been you, but like on like a politically opposite spectrum. You know what I mean? Like I was sitting here fucking trying to talk to people about feminism and like how the F slur is okay to say and shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like it would have like it's looking back on it, like it's just so lame to think about, right? But it's true, and it's how do I say, it's honest to the circumstances for sure.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I felt like so much of who I was in that moment was a lot. A lot happened.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even really say that it's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, you can look at some of those instances and really bring a lot of positivity out. A lot of people, maybe don't know the circumstances that you had going on in your head. All they remember is that the Santiago that I remember was trying to help homeless people, or he was trying to rally the community to try and help the less fortunate. Like a lot of people will tell you that bullshit, and I think that's a lot of credit to be given. Nobody really knows.
Yeah, like the internal world.
Unless they hear it from your account here, but a lot of people just get to see the good, right?
Yeah, and I think that's like I remember I had a talk with my therapist about that. That was like, she was like, what often looks like resilience on the outside for everyone, on the inside sucks, and like what we when we appreciate like courage from someone, the person experiencing it like is having the worst time.
Yeah.
Like deciding to do like something that they're afraid to do.
For sure.
And so like for me, like I don't know, like some of that stuff also came from like an own insecurity of like my status again, where I never felt like I was like good enough, like in the realm of like being like a citizen, like I felt like I was almost qualified as not good enough from the beginning. Like
designed to fail.
Yeah. And I for years had just so much resentment towards life in my very early years about that, and I think my way of coping it was trying to. Also, there's like an evasion aspect for me, like a running away from home. I've talked about this before, but like my mom like hoards a lot, like shit to the walls.
Yeah.
It was a really tough environment to grow up in, and I felt like there was a lot of like gaslighting and just like I think that's why it was also really important for me to always be right or feel that, because I felt like the environment that I was in didn't let me have that experience. So I was like seeking it out in the world, and so it had manifested in like, these other ways of like sure, like it was strange to me that I was like helping people, and then also we were very low income, and like, but I also didn't want to be home,
right?
I wanted to be out and like doing shit, but.
And that's why you're always like biking and stuff. And
Dude, some of my favorite memories are biking with you.
Times.
Yeah.
Great time. A lot of freedom in that.
I think that's really what it was. Like a lot of the activities for me posed a certain freedom.
Yeah.
Or even escapism. Those kind of teeter. But yeah, I don't know. I do want to jump back into your dreams. I want to hear about like the nightmares and I mean maybe just not the nightmares, but like some of the other stuff too. But
I mean,
where do you think would be a good spot to start for you?
Let's see. I guess when it comes to dreams, there's a lot of people who have really random dreams, and I would consider myself to be one of those people. I've had a lot of conversations with people with regards to dreams because I do find mine, at the very least, somewhat interesting.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting to kind of gauge how other people perceive their, because you always see at the very least, I've seen here and there some stuff where people try to compare what images look like projected within the mind, right? So you always get the thing where it's like, oh, if you're this person, and it'll be like a black void, and it's like, oh, you're this type of person, right? And it'll be like, oh, if you're this person, and it's like a bright red apple, and it's like you perceive the so on and so forth, and they really try to nail it down, but I don't think it's that black and white.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's a little bit more nuanced, and it's really interesting to dive into that nuance. So that's why I was really curious to see what other people have said about in your show. I'm excited for those episodes to come out. But for me, at the very least, my dreams are always really random.
Okay.
And I don't mean like haha XD, like very random. I mean like random in the sense of like a setting shift. There will be a setting shift. I'll be sitting here. I'll be talking to you, right? I look away for 1 second. So like, okay. It's like never really all that consistent, right? And like but those I don't really remember too much about because they're very like
sporadic.
How am I supposed to remember like, oh yeah, I did this and I did this and I did that? It's like the only ones that I remember are the ones that, like you said, have elicited a strong response and thematically are consistent with one setting, right?
Oh, okay, like
so for example, there are some recurring elements to my dreams. Number one is a woman, an older woman, taller, white, older. She looks very like if what's his name? Clint Eastwood. Like if Clint Eastwood was like a woman,
okay,
tall and skinny.
Oh wow.
That's kind of what this woman looks like, and I have often associated this woman with different people. But I have associated her with titles that are not hers. So, for example, I can think back to a very, very grotesque nightmare that I had where she was pinned the association of my mother. I'm fully aware that she's not my mother. It's a white woman, tall, whatever. But in the dream, this was my mother. Right? I'm pretty sure it's a woman who I've sort of morphed into this person. I saw her for the very first time in a movie. Cannot remember the name of the movie, but it was basically a scene, and if ever anybody would know what this movie is just off of what I'm about to say, great. I mean, I kind of don't want to watch it because I guess it elicited such a strong response that I dream her to this day.
Oh shit.
But it was an older woman. She was crossing the street and she was struck by a car, right? And the protagonist, I'm assuming, of the movie rushes over and she's like, "Oh my god, like what the heck?" And it's like a shot of the woman, and she's got her neck broken off to the side, and that's it. That's pretty much it. There have been instances where I just dream of this woman, just in like a black void. This woman cracking her neck. Over and over.
Fuck that.
Yeah. So this woman has. I mean, I wouldn't say she's terrorized my dreams because there have been some very like benevolent dreams where she's been in and just kind of like whatever. Yeah. But the ones that I do have jotted down of her are not great. And they are usually associated with something like more violent.
So she is like a symbol of violence.
Kind of. Like I said, she has been in dreams where it's like benevolence or just nothing at all. Like she's like a cashier that I pass by or something.
Okay.
But she is probably like the only recurring aspect of my dreams that I see often.
When you see her in a dream, I'm assuming you recognize her first.
It's interesting because, like I said, I associate titles with her. So it's only through introspection and like this dream journal that I'm able to see, and I'm able to like associate her like as a recurring theme. But in the dream, she's just like, if she wants to be Santiago in the dream, she's just Santiago, and I'm just like, oh hey Santiago, blah, blah, and I don't think anything of it until I wake up and I'm like, it's that lady again, and she's definitely not Santiago. Yeah. But in the dream, I'm just talking to this person. So like I said, like I can walk into the dream where she was my mother.
Yeah, let's hear that.
It was a house that doesn't belong to me.
Okay.
It was a bigger house, 2 stories, dead grass out in the front.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen Melissa's house or where her parent or I don't know
Where the cats were?
Where the cats were.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
But imagine it had 2 stories.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's no shade. It's in Ontario. Water.
Yeah.
It was like during a drought, whatever. So
Yeah.
grass was dead. I've always associated her house with dead grass. I'm sorry. I don't. That's not personal or anything. It's just
It's just the way it was.
it's just the way it was. Yeah. So just imagine like that. 2 stories, wire fence out in the front. I arrived with my sister, her husband, and my niece.
Yeah.
My niece rushed into the house because she was happy to see my mom, who was this woman. The woman, however, my mother, was absolutely not happy to see her at all.
Oh.
Like seeing her elicited such a strong response that she started to act out in a very aggressive manner. My niece runs up to her and she's real excited. My mom was like, "No, like it's you again," and like she's like screaming at the top of her lungs, like she's being very, very irrational or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like real concerned at this point, so I run in.
Yeah.
Because I hear my mom making a mess, like
Yeah.
making like a mess, like as if she's trying to run away.
Okay.
And sure enough, she is. She's running out to a back house that we have in this dream. I don't have a back house, but we've got a back house in the dream. She runs out to it, and she's like screaming at the top of her lungs, like some shit in there, right? I walk into this back house. My niece is very, very like shaken. She's like, "What the heck?"
Oh shit.
At this point, my niece was like maybe 3 or 2.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, like just a child, right? I tell my sister to get the baby because it's like this situation is obviously unsafe, and I walk over to the back house where she is. I don't remember too much of what's inside the bathhouse or the back house, other than the fact that there is a bath, and it's one of those semi-transparent, semi-opaque, where it's like the figure behind is just obscured.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know what you're talking about.
Like kind of blurred out.
Yeah.
And she's in there, she's screaming like, "I hate you, I hate you, I hate you" to the baby, and she is ripping off chunks of her hair. It's very bloody.
Oh god.
Like there's blood all over the glass, all over the white wall behind her, and it's like very grotesque. And I'm sitting there like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And so I'm panicking at this point. I leave, and I tell her like, "Oh no, like you're gonna end up ruining like your relationship with your family or something like that."
Yeah.
She becomes my real mom, and she's sitting there and she's got like a really cold expression. Like she walks us out to the house, like because I tell her like pack all of her shit. We're leaving. Like we're not talking to this woman anymore. Everything's packed up within 15 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
It's all in the car, and my mom is walking us out. My real mom is walking us out, very stone-faced expression, and she's just like, kind of like, standing her ground that she hates us, right?
Yeah. Oh my god.
And I was like, "Oh, you're gonna die alone in Mexico." And I get inside the car. I tell my sister like, "Man, like this sucks. Like, where are we going to go next?" And my sister was like, "Oh, like let's go get some food."
Got you.
Dream's over.
Man, there's a lot to unpack there. But it sounds like there is, at least with the reoccurring woman and like some of the context you gave with the film, I think is helpful.
Yeah.
This is the sense I'm getting, and correct me if I'm wrong, but or before I even jump into that, I would want to know, when you saw this film, you were a kid?
I was a child, yeah.
Okay, so this makes some sense to me, and we'll see how it plays out for you. But what I'm getting is that you were a kid, again, the memories we create are the ones that spike that deep, like, emotion.
Yeah.
So maybe, like, as a kid, like, one of the first times you seen something really graphic, and it, like, stabbed in your brain. And what it seems like, and it's obviously like a very violent image, so the sense I'm getting is that there is this, like, your mind can easily look to this image of this woman from an early stage and have a very clear association with violence, and so it's almost like there's this agent of chaos, like, in your dreams, that violence is, like, attributed to, like, kind of, like, honed in on this one aspect. But it sounds like if she wasn't around, the dream wouldn't be violent.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think, like I said, in this particular instance, and in some instances in the past, I have them jotted down, and maybe I could look for a refresher. But like every single time that I've run into this person, like I said,
Do this real quick.
about Babui. While I'm at it.
Creepy dream, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah. Every single time that I've seen her in a dream, the situation looked like it was supposed to play it in one way, and it didn't.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So
you
yeah,
know?
like that chaotic element.
Yeah, so I like the chaos element. I wouldn't, because like I said, like it's not always violence with her.
Right.
But the chaos for sure. I think it's always an indication of like something was supposed to happen. It didn't in the way, and the dream plays out.
What is your relationship with violence?
No, I don't know. I hate violence. Like I hate
Yeah.
watching like. I don't know, like sometimes you'll be like, "Oh, viewer discretion is advised," and
You are advised.
advice is for me. I was advised,
Yeah,
right? 'Cause
yeah.
I don't like seeing gore, like against my will. Recently, like Twitter has become like a really bad cesspool for like a lot of harmful and violent content, and like recently I was exposed to like a beheading against my will. It was real awful. I hated it. Like I wouldn't say like it lingers on me, but like in the moment at the very least, I'm very uncomfortable. Like it's very like gore movies, gore games. Like here and there, a little blood spat, whatever. But like when it gets real excessive, ripping a person in half and then like getting all the details of what's going on in there, I don't like that.
Like the throwing up.
Yeah.
In the
Like
I don't like that.
Like Tomb Raider deaths.
Yeah, like real like
Graphic.
Gears of War, like all that
Oh
stuff.
yeah, the juicy blood.
Just like, or even like Mortal Kombat. I don't even like the
Oh.
finishers and stuff like that in Mortal Kombat. Like it's I wouldn't call myself a pacifist in any capacity.
Yeah.
But I just like you know what I mean? Like I don't want to see that bullshit.
Yeah. How? I feel like your relationship with violence and graphic things has always kind of been the same, right?
Yeah, I
Like
would
you always had
venture
that stance, like
Yeah.
it's not something, which is interesting because like mine is very different.
Right, of course.
I have like a weird, deep appreciation for like graphic content.
My dad does as well.
Me too.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he used to
Me
watch
too. Oh, he
gore
does?
content.
Oh,
There was
okay.
there was a
Like
website
what?
called rotten.com, and
Oh,
there
yeah.
would be like beheadings and
Oh,
like
God.
guys getting like their top of their scalp shred off by
You
a
would see
helicopter.
this?
And like sometimes I'd walk in and he's like right there. I'm like, what? You know?
Oh shit. Okay, this helps
Yeah.
a lot, right? Like maybe that's where you develop some of that like real discomfort.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially-
definitely.
Yeah, I want to hear
For sure.
It's interesting because my dad would downplay it. Like he'd be like, oh, it's normal. Like look, it's life.
Ah, okay.
You know, but
gotcha.
I'd be like, no, it's not. You know, like it
yeah,
doesn't happen to
watching a
me.
beheading, Dad.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like there's.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like a lot of instances that maybe I can kind of cherry pick to say that it affected. Like there was a cat dead in front of our yard once, and he got his gut spilled out, and I didn't like that shit.
Yeah.
But that's like, what am I supposed to say that was like the trigger? No, I can't really say that realistically.
Yeah.
But there were a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
see.
instances where like I was made uncomfortable by things like that, and
Yeah.
I would say that contributes to my overall discomfort
Yeah.
with gore. I'm not gonna cry and scream and
Yeah,
throw up
yeah.
if I see gore. I'm just gonna be like, man.
Yeah. Why did I see
Like you
that?
kind of just shat on my day a little bit there, or at least at the very least, if not my day, the next 30 minutes of my day.
Yeah.
Just
Especially
sit
when
here
it's
and think about it.
unexpected. It sounds like that's like that have more of an effect for you, right? When
Yeah.
it's an unexpected thing, and I can kind of see now, like, and again, like, let me know if I'm right or wrong here, but that some of that, like, internalized disgust. And by the way, like, horror and real graphic and blood and stuff is a normal thing to be like disgusted
Right,
by
yeah,
and
yeah,
not
I get
want.
that, I
You
get
know,
that.
like let's get
I
that
think
out of the way.
I've sort of come to that.
Yeah,
I think
like-
I'm normal in that aspect.
Yeah. So, it sounds like like I can't imagine what it's like to see like a caregiver like your dad
Yeah.
seeing something so obscene
Yeah.
and like uncalled for.
Yeah.
And as a kid, that must be like really shocking.
Yeah.
You know.
It's interesting though, because I feel like I've always reflected on some of those instances, and I feel like that could have gone like one of two really bad ways. Number one being the way that I went, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
You don't like gore, none of that shit.
Great.
But what if I was fascinated with him?
you know,
Yeah.
and that had sort of
More?
developed into my personality where
Yeah.
like, you know, maybe I see that cat, I'm like, oh, nice. You know,
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
how that looked. You know, maybe I want to cause that.
I
You know,
see.
and like that's really extreme, very hyperbolic, but I feel
Yeah.
like it, you know, it could have gone that way very easily.
It so could have gone. I'm so
Yeah.
glad it didn't.
In another universe, man.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe it's happening in some other universe.
Man, I'm just a psychopathic murderer.
Yeah, aren't we all though?
True.
In some other universe.
True.
So.
Definitely.
But yeah, it's really interesting for me. The reason I have like a big liking to violence was when I was a kid. There was a lot of stuff we couldn't do, you know, and the thing that we could like the one thing that my parents were like very okay with us is watching like movies that were rated R. You know.
Yeah.
So I just remember as a kid like. It was weird because I like imagine bonding with your parents and you're watching something really violent like, but I always had the sense that it was like a fake violence because I knew it was a movie, you know, and so for me it was just like really fun and all that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like real life violence, my response is typically like. It can be very like poker face still, you know, because I think the way I function is like something will happen and then I process. Like it's hard for me to process in the moment, you know. So when I am in a space of danger or like do see violence in person, the response is usually like the first thing goes to my head is like how do I reach safety and how do I like you know get there, you know. So there's a different association.
Yeah.
I think I think that's where some of my own like love for violence comes from. It's just like the art form and seeing something like someone just how we were saying yesterday, like work out something so graphic to the detail, to the color, you know, all that shit.
I can respect that much. I think.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
Real shit is like too much. Yeah. I've seen it too. Like people, you know, will send me like weird ass videos, the beheadings, and it's a weird like culture. But it's yeah. Like for things that happen in real life, like I mean, I don't even eat meat, you know. So that's like for me, it's like okay, like I have there's a different way of thinking about it when it's real, you know, like whatever. But yeah. So there's tell me about like a benevolent dream where she shows up.
Like I said, it's usually. I mean, she's. This was probably the first dream, the one that I already said. That was probably the first dream where she really took like an active role as being something like there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
She's always kind of in the background.
Yeah.
You know? She's always kind of like I said. There, I can distinctly remember a dream where she was a cashier, and I had asked her like where something was. I can't really remember too much of the details. I wrote it down. But I had asked her where something was, and she had told me, it's over here. I can think of another dream that ended up becoming a nightmare, where I was at work, and she was the one who handed me the food. Or either I handed her the food, or she handed me the food, something to that effect. And she had said something, and then the dream kind of spiraled a little bit after that.
Okay.
But in terms of, like, benevolence... Yeah, like I said, it's never anything like she's like, oh yeah, saint. Like she sits
so it's
there.
like a background character.
It's always like that was the first time really that I noticed her and I was like, oh no, like, what are you doing? Like, I mean, because like I said, I would say that one recurring theme with her is that like whatever happens with her, it ends up becoming something that like probably was not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Right. Like things turned out a different way, and I think it's because as my brain is like kind of drawing up, cooking up the dream or whatever. Yeah. It like that memory springs up, you know.
I see. Yeah.
And it's like it's something like a derailment, you know.
So there's a circuit in your brain.
Yeah.
And sometimes it pivots into her.
And then like you know, like let's just say you have a train of thought, right? And then like I don't know, or like you're driving on a road, right? You're driving, you have a destination that you want to get to, but it's a dark road. All of a sudden, fucking you see her standing there in the middle of the road, you swerve out the way. That's how I would distinct.
I see.
You know, sometimes you just swerve out the road and you're like, oh shit, what the fuck was that? And then you know you just kind of keep driving. Other times you crash.
Yeah, it's like a real lack of control.
Yeah.
You know, this is really interesting because now, like, with all the people I've talked to, I've started noticing something that, like, I don't know how like, not tangible, how like real of a thing it is, or how like how much of it I can apply generally. But in a good number of people's dreams that I've talked to, where they've had like a significant other pass away, when that person pops up in their dream, the mind will become very afraid at first because they're not there anymore, you know. So the first reaction is like it's almost like a jarring moment because you start to you hit like a smidge of self-awareness, but you're dreaming, so it's supposed to be real.
Yeah.
And then your brain kind of like splits into the lucid, you know, versus because at this point, part of the lucid experience is realizing you're asleep while you're in the dream.
Yeah.
And a trigger for that, for the people I've talked to, some of them, has been someone who's been dead for them, and is important because the brain is trying to make sense of like, wait, why are they here? I thought that they were not here anymore, you know, and so it starts to question the experience it's in, and then it's a few seconds from being awake again.
I think I can relate to that in some sense. But it's kind of weird because I've only ever had one prophetic dream in my life.
Oh, cool, yeah.
And it was one of these instances where like the lucidity of the dream was made pretty prevalent to me, but I didn't really have, because of the emotion that it elicited, I didn't have a like time to be like, wow, you know, like I'm fucking dreaming right now. But basically,
hold that thought real quick. I have to go pee.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Little phone break.
We're sponsored by LaCroix.
True.
This is their new flavor. Limoncello. It's good for you. That was a fast piss.
True.
I like it. I feel like Santi's on his way on speedrunning.
Okay, yeah. So let's hear about the prophetic dream.
Yeah, it was I can tell you exactly when it was. It was December 11th of 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Was it 2021? And my grandpa was my mom was in Mexico with my grandpa.
In real life.
In real life,
Okay.
yes. My mom was in Mexico with my grandpa. He's on his last legs, right? It was something around 5 in the morning, and I woke up a little bit, and I realized that I still wanted to be asleep, so I kind of slipped back into sleep and instantly started dreaming. I was dreaming that I was in the house that I used to live in when we met, right?
Oh,
it was like the
yeah.
back, right?
Yeah.
Or no, it was like the house, my aunt's house.
Oh, the house.
Calvin's
Yeah.
Right? But it just was when we lived in the back. I sat there, and I was sitting in the kitchen. I don't know if you remember the kitchen, but it was just kind of like this pretty shabby room, whatever, kitchen. And there was a spring door that faced out into the backyard, and there was a window right there as well where I was able to see that somebody was coming. And knocked on the door. I opened the door. It was my grandpa, right?
Okay.
It was my grandpa, and upon seeing him, I started to cry really, really bad. My grandpa didn't say anything. I was crying. I was telling him that I missed him. Telling him that I missed him. I woke up, and my mom called me maybe like 5 minutes later to tell me my grandpa died. And I really like that dream. I really like. I've always thought about that dream and like such. It's like you can kind of see it. And it's like no, like man, like I dreamt about him dying. Whatever. It's sad.
Yeah.
I love that dream a lot because my relationship with my grandpa, I wouldn't say it was bad, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't really know him. He was in Mexico a lot, and whenever he got to come, I mean, it was very seldom that I got to see him. So, I wouldn't really say that I had a crazy relationship with him or anything, but my mom had been calling me to give me like little daily updates and stuff, and maybe I want to say 2 or 3 days before his passing, she had called me and she had told me, she's like, oh, one really interesting thing that I've noticed while I've been here with your grandpa is that he brings you up a lot. He says like, oh, how is he? please tell him like to be well. Please tell him like to stay at it, like whatever. Something that was uncharacteristic of my grandpa completely. Not that he was like a bad person, but like I said, we didn't have that connection like that where we would be talking to each other, calling each other up, and stuff like that. And every single time that I called him, I'll be honest with you, like it was very faceless. I feel like I didn't really have like it was kind of like, yeah, he's dying, you know, like okay.
Yeah.
I kind of had that attitude, or like, yeah, he's sick, he's probably gonna get better, like it'll go one way or the other, and I kind of didn't feel like I cared very much. And so I would talk to him, and I'd be like, yeah, grandpa, like, you know, put in the good fight, like get in there, fucking whatever. And that would be that, right? I did my due diligence. Like I called my grandpa, I talked to him already, whatever. But like, yeah, it really struck me when my mom said that, you know, like when he said, like, please be well, like, you know, like have him call me and tell me, like, talk to me, whatever. Some of the stuff that he would talk about, right? And it was me specifically. My mom was very clear to me that he made a point about me specifically. You know, he's got a lot of grandchildren. So you know, to me, like, it struck me as very odd. And so when I reflect on the dream, I think to myself, like, it was his last opportunity to come in and check on me. Like, to check on me. Like, he had been saying, I hope he's well. I hope he's doing okay. I hope, you know, he prevails, right? And yeah, it felt to me like it was him coming in and check, because he didn't say anything. He just embraced me. He embraced me, and I was crying really, really profusely. And I woke up crying very, very profusely. And then that's when I got the call from my mom. And then...
Dude, that's hard.
It's hard. It's a really... I like... It's a powerful dream. It doesn't elicit a response for me, honestly, sometimes thinking about it. But it's... You know, I don't want to say a prophetic dream, right? I didn't exactly think about, like, my grandpa dying. But it felt real to the circumstances.
Right.
Which I thought was... it's powerful. I like that. I like to think about that dream a lot. It's not too often that I wake up crying from a nightmare or like from a dream like that, but this is one of those instances where I did, and it was a pretty strong emotion that I had there.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know how much other people relate to that. No. I feel like that's a common not like the passing away aspect, but the aspect of having like a faceless conversation with your extended family in another land.
Yeah.
You know, and like you are kind of like in these moments where you want to connect, but you don't really know much about this person. Yeah. You know, their whole life has kind of been vague. They're on the older side. Maybe they're only fully Spanish speaking, you know, and so there is that sense of like a disconnect. And then at the same time, like, you are related and there's blood, you know, and they're very, the way that they see you in their life is entirely different also, you know, like having maybe known you since you were like a baby, and that's a whole other experience for them on their end, you know, and definitely. So, but yeah, I relate to that aspect of like, having those conversations with my grandparents in another land, and you know, also like vaguely not really knowing what to talk about when they would call. You know, you had that too. You've had that before, with like grandparents. Or okay,
Mostly my dad's side, I'd say.
Oh, okay, but I mean, yeah, like. That's like another like Murphy's Law moment, you know, where there was this. I mean, what are the odds of that like coincidence happening? And also like, I feel like also maybe a reason. I don't know, like the coincidence that I see is like the timing, you know, but I feel the worry, you know. I feel that worry was something that like you kind of knew that he was like in his last days, you know, and so it was starting to scale up, and you know, maybe hearing him like give you advice he doesn't normally give you kind of like created a new response.
For sure. I definitely feel like there was a connection that was established like for the first time.
Oh, I see.
You know, like don't get me wrong, I got along with him. He would visit, and it was nice. You know, my grandpa, cool. You know, whatever. But like I said, I've always had that sort of shrug attitude. Like, you know, if he comes, he comes, and if he doesn't, well, he doesn't. Whatever. But yeah, it was something very powerful about seeing him in that instance. Just like, I don't know, it felt like I didn't grieve. I didn't grieve when my mom told me. I didn't really even think about anything because I always thought about that dream and how I feel like I got it out. I got it out then and there, because I don't know, he came and he told me that it was gonna be okay. Yeah. I remember when I told my mom that story, it really, really elicited a really strong response in her. I mean, she was grieving. Mm-hmm. She was grieving very powerfully, and so when I told her that, she was like, "You know what? Thank you for telling me that. Like, that makes me happy. That makes me happy that he came and he at the very least got to say goodbye to one of us, and he kind of communicated what he wanted to communicate with his last, moments,
Oh man, yeah, like that's a big fear in me. Even though like death is part of life, I found myself on Father's Day having a real conversation with my dad about what he would like to happen after he dies. And he's like 40.
Yeah.
But I mean, it can happen any moment. And like it's one of those things of like. Like I think relationships with parents can be complicated, at least to say.
For sure.
Everyone has like a different bag.
For sure.
Mix of emotions, but like it's the inevitable that, I mean, we're all gonna pass away. It tends to be the older people who pass away first.
For sure.
In life, and so I have that fear that like one day, I mean, it's gonna happen. They're gonna pass away.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine what that was like for your mom.
Yeah.
She was really. It sounded like she was close with.
Definitely. Yeah. Not to like veer the conversation in any one way or the other, but I've always had I've had it not unhealthy, but just uncommon experience and relationship with death. With some, sure, like there have been a lot of people in my life who have passed, but like I said, it's always been a somewhat similar situation with them. The people who have passed in my life, I haven't really been connected to them to the point where like I attend a funeral, and like I've actually never attended a funeral. Like it's always just been they died, and I kind of have one sort of reminder of it here and there, like when my grandma passed away and when my grandpa passed away. I had a cousin at a very early age pass away, and like all of that, like I'm not gonna say was any kind of like, it didn't really get anything out of me. It was like, whoa, okay. I have not really. It's interesting being in the place where I was, of where I contemplated the ceasing of my own existence, right? I came to grips with that very quickly. Being in the state that I was in, like I would almost like fantasize about it, right? I would think to myself nonstop about what would happen, not if, when I died. And it was for the when for me in this particular instance was not too far away, right? And it was always that question that held me very, very anchored to this reality. Damn. This is a sort of a conversation that sparks off of like dreams or whatever. I do have a lot of night dreams, but more than anything, I have a lot of daydreams. Mm-hmm. I daydream a lot. Yeah. And one of those daydreams, particularly when I was in the state that I was in, was about after dying, right? What would happen to me, my consciousness, my existence once I died? For me personally, I came to a conclusion, my own conclusion, which I think honestly saved me. It is do you know what a porthole is? It's just a window, but it's specific to a boat, right? So you think of like the little boat windows and how they're circles.
See the ocean through it,
In my mind, when I die, if I die by means that weren't supposed to be the way that I was supposed to die, I would be held in this sort of purgatory. Right? Yeah. Where I would be in a dark room, completely void of anybody else but me, and there would be a small window, a small circular window, where I would only get that much room to see everybody grieve me. Yeah. But not just grieve me. That part hurts. Of course, you don't want to see like your mom cry. You don't want to see a lot of people in Hispanic households have never seen their dad cry. You know? have never seen their grandpa or whatever. Like they've never seen those emotions from these people. Seeing them, a shock in itself, right? The part that always really, really got me was what comes after. The forgetting. The getting over.
Yeah.
I don't want you to get over me. I'm dead. I'm here. I'm still like conscious of the fact that I'm not there with you.
Oh, because you're seeing
you're
them.
moving on.
Yeah.
I'm watching you move on and forget me. And eventually they would forget you and you would be laid to rest finally after having seen everybody that you loved pass or forget.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. There's a lot of forms of media that have inspired that thought in me.
Okay.
But that thought makes me so unbearably uncomfortable, so unbearably afraid that it keeps me rooted. So like I just don't want like because it's a 1 in a infinity chance that that's what it is. But it just has to land that once. And if it is, I'm fucked.
No.
I don't really even care about everything else, right? Like we've fantasized a lot about afterlives and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't really care about any of the other shit. Like, yeah, if I'm gonna like burn, whatever. If I'm gonna just sit and do nothing, whatever. But this particular hell, pretty much that I made for myself, was enough for me to be like, nah, dude, like let's work on it. Like let's try and find a reason not to end up in that
place.
Because to me, it was that little circle.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
I'm curious. It sounds like there's a fear about being forgotten.
Yeah.
Do you have a sense like where that comes from?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would say that it comes from all the stuff that I have to say. In my youth, I feel I wasn't loud enough. I was satisfied with being number 2, right? With being number 3, with not being first place when I was a kid, right? Because I had cool friends, right? Like that I would put on a pedestal, right? There would always be more people that I meet who would be like, "Wow, you're cool," and I wouldn't necessarily say that I was okay with being like a yes man or like their little sidekick or anything, but I was okay with being just in the same sentence as them, right? It was cool, like. For people, like, people would associate, oh, yeah, Santiago and his friends, right? And, like, maybe I would hang out with Marcos and his friends, right? There were these great people who I would associate myself with that it was fun. I was okay with that. But it feels like I didn't have a lot to say, even though I didn't say a lot while having a lot to say, right?
I see.
So, the idea of me not getting the opportunity to have shared all those things and have them be, like, influential to people in any capacity is terrifying to me, because there's a lot of thoughts that I have out there that I wish I could get out there, you know, and have them not be forgotten when I'm gone and I'm no longer able to say them, you know.
Man,
what I mean?
I see. That's real existential.
Yeah,
because it's almost like who you really are is in this little box, you know, and you want to like, you fear if you never open it, it's just gonna like fall into the ocean.
I mean, what really, realistically, like, I know, like, this is, like, a really, like, existential question, right, or whatever, but realistically, what are you, if not what you put out? You're nothing, right?
Yeah.
You are only, like, maybe you're satisfied with just dying, whatever, but to those of us who are not satisfied with that, I'm not satisfied with bottling up the things and just having them here and be warm to me. Like, I have a fear of that. I don't like having shit in here and not being able to tell people, because I want to see what responses that elicits. Like, I get something out of that, right? I'm a giver, and I want to see what people like, how they react. This is why I'm actually like really, really like I'm super self-conscious about giving gifts, because the reaction that people get, I'm very hyper fixated on that, and if they don't react the way that I want, then I'm like kind of like left a little empty, you know.
You said that with the memes too.
I'm serious about that. Like, I mean, it's not like it's gonna like shit on me or anything like that. Like, I have enough more to give, I think, that would satisfy, like, you know, falling short in some instances.
Gotcha.
But for, like, I will dwell on it at least a little bit. Like,
yeah.
You know, he didn't laugh. Or, you know, like, I got my dad it was a stupid fucking gift, of course. But, like, I saw it and I thought it'd be cool for my dad. It was a pocket watch.
That's pretty cool.
Never used it. He never used it. Of course, it's a pocket watch, you know? I can't blame him. He has a phone and a watch and stuff. Like, of course he wouldn't use a pocket watch.
Yeah.
But I got it for him, and, like, you know, like, there was, like, some sentiment to it because
Yeah.
it's my dad, and I don't get him that many gifts. So the one time I did, you know?
And it wasn't you.
Very particular about it. And I don't know.
Well, that's funny because, like, that's it's a cool gift to have, you know? Like, I would want
I think so.
a pocket watch,
It's
you
cool.
know?
But my dad is a plain Jane, so of course he's not going to use a pocket watch.
Yeah, and, like, I guess the way that things work out in my head about... Because I... in the past would have like a similar like expectation, you know, about how I would want people to react.
Yeah.
In this like ideal world in my head.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like I wandered into this little forest where I could just have like satisfaction in my intention, you know? And that was like enough for me, you know, like however the world, and this is a part of the relationship I had to build with like doing art and all that shit. Like, it was like, oh my God, I would be like to a degree self-conscious about my art, you know, not fully, like that wasn't like the big like obstacle I dealt with it, but it was there, you know, it was very real. And, for me, it had led into this like moment where if it wasn't exactly what was in my head, then I would feel like really insecure about what I put out, you know? Even some of the stuff that we did in high school.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, like, I always look back at, like, The Most Dangerous Game or, like, Uplift, and a part of me, like, cringes, like, so much, because I'm like, what the... Like, at the time, I thought this was, like, the coolest shit, like, peak cinema, you know? Like, you can't get
Martin
better.
Scorsese himself.
Exactly, yeah. Like, I really felt those emotions. And then this thing happened where years I would like reflect and rewatch, and then I'd start to feel really ashamed and like this like insecurity from that. And I realized that for me that insecurity came from how I was being perceived. Like that mattered to me for some reason. And I realized that like to be not even an artist, I think just to be a person. Like it was important for me to develop a relationship with the things I created where if I failed at that thing, it was better for me to fail a lot more than to stop and be in this like analysis paralysis stage. Oh, thanks. Oh, mames. Good eye. Culo eye. Like, I would even say that analysis paralysis carried into, like, even this podcast. You know, like, I had thought about this last year. And in my head, like, I couldn't do it because I didn't have 2 microphones and a 2-camera setup and what I really wanted. But I realized, like, a year had gone by. And I was like, oh, if I don't start, even with, like, the tools I have, like, it's not even going to happen. And that, to me, was, like, a scarier thing. To me, never to create something I really wanted to do. You know? And it applies more than art, like, to experiences I want to experience and, you know, all that good stuff. But, yeah, like, it was about, more importantly, developing this relationship with failure where, like, yeah, I'm going to fail, and some things I put out are going to be cringy, you know, and a lot of stuff isn't going to hit. And I had to just, like, learn to be okay with that, you know? But, yeah, it sounds like some of that expectation on, like, how you would like someone to react has made it hard for you to maybe, like, fully share.
100%.
Yeah, your world.
100%, yeah. No, it's because to this day, I sit here and I listen to the things you're saying. I'm like, yeah, man, great. But I haven't that's a hurdle I have not crossed, and I don't really. I'm aware of
Yeah.
the issue,
Yeah.
right? I'm
Which
not
is
active.
good.
I'm currently not actively taking any steps to really do it. Like this can sound so silly, but you know, we grew up in the age of content creation. I would have loved to be a content creator because I have a lot of things that I would like to say.
Yeah.
I have a lot of ideas that I would like to share. I don't really think that I would run out of things to say.
Yeah, I don't think.
Right?
Yeah.
I just haven't quite made it. Like it can, and you can find it in almost every single aspect of my life, from something as small as gift giving to something like my career choice.
Yeah.
You know, I went to school to be a performance artist. I wanted to put music out there.
Yeah.
But I realized I have crippling performance anxiety. Crippling, and it's not just performance anxiety. It's just like what people expect versus what they receive. That dynamic terrifies me. Because I mean, I know me as a content absorber, right? I consume all sorts of content.
Yeah.
Right? I watch videos, I listen to music, I watch movies, I look at people's art, and I think to myself, wow, something, right? Like I have an opinion of something. Everyone else does as well, and it's different from my own. Sure, there will be people who agree with me and say, yeah, Elemental was a good movie. Yeah, you know, whatever. But then there's going to be people who don't. And it's like sort of the argument, like, you know, because I'm debatey. I'll debate you. I want to know why you don't think it's a good film. Like, because I know I'm resolute on the fact that I think it's whatever, you know. But it's different when it's my stuff. Because after that, like,
What do you mean?
because like, I don't know. I know that. Because I want to, it's like such a mixture of things, right? But it's like I like to put myself in people's shoes. So now I'm in this person's shoes and I'm listening to me do this. Like, so like I take it like, for example, like in college, my very first year of college, I took a performing class, like where I needed to perform a piece, and I spent months and months and months, the entire school year, performing one piece, right? It's called Moonlight Sonata. It's like a piece of like a movement of Beethoven. It's nice. It's a great piece, right? And I spent all sorts of time practicing it. I had a tutor that would tutor me and do all this stuff. Performance day came, I chickened out. I didn't go. I just didn't go. I actually dropped school entirely. That's how deathly afraid. Her name was Stephanie, my tutor. She called me a gorillion times. She called me and called me and called me and called me and called me. Finally left a voicemail and she was like, hey, just please talk to me. What's up? So, you know, I got the opportunity to catch up with her and I was like, it was fear. I was deathly afraid. And like seeing the disappointment in her face and all of that stuff. Because in my head, I'm going to be honest with you, I think I really did get a decent grasp of the piece. I really do think that I would have played it just fine. But in my head, I would have made one or two mistakes and that would have been enough. I don't care. They would have been like, they would have passed me. They would have 100% passed me. She's like, dude, there were people who came out and they played some dog shit and they passed. Like, but I'm just so hypercritical of, like, even if it, like, you know, like, maybe it's going well. Maybe the guy is listening to me play this piece and he's like, this is great. You know, he's got a smile on his face, whatever. Maybe he's like recording himself and he's telling me into the mic, like, yeah, no, good control, blah, 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 blah. But then he says, ooh, little trouble there. Ooh, that gets me so bad. That's like, what trouble? Like, what do you mean? Like, and then I listen to it. I'm like, yeah, I suck. You know, it's that kind of thing.
I see.
It's a hurdle I haven't crossed.
It definitely is about your relationship with failure. I'm glad you're self-aware though about that, because like that is, it's a step in the right direction, and it's right past in denial. You know, so you've been like, oh, okay, like I've seen this pattern in my life. I've seen how it's affected me. Fear is it's like a fucking wall that you like lay another break on, and you can do that as much as you want. And it's held me back also from a lot of things that I really want to do, you know, and like even for me, like putting out music in the world, that like I felt so cringy about that. Like I always like cringe at some of the parts in the songs. I'm like, I could have done this better, could have done that, you know. And that voice will always exist,
Definitely.
you know. But
I think it should too.
yeah, and that's actually what I was gonna like pivot to is like, if you don't have that voice, that is like corrective inside of you, then you can never shape your craft.
Exactly.
You know.
If I have that voice, if I don't have that voice,
Yeah.
I'm still me in high school. Like where I thought that, dude, like ask me about my position in the band in high school.
Yeah.
I would have told you I stood head and shoulders above anyone in that place.
Yeah.
All just to end up that I couldn't perform in front of 3 judges who would have passed me regardless of whatever trash I honked out of my horn there.
I
You know
would
what I
say,
mean?
I did think in high school you were really good.
I mean,
I admire your
have,
musical
I have some confidence. Like I said, I really do have a lot of confidence in the things that I do, but it's like not being able to balance that stuff, like balance my confidence in what I'm doing with the fear of not doing it right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so if you say I make like an art piece.
Yeah.
You know, I make like a painting.
You?
Yeah, I make a painting. And you know, I finish it and it's like you really like it, but maybe like you think the house that I like painted should have been a different color.
Okay.
How do you respond to that?
I wouldn't.
But like what would be like your internal thought?
Oh, I'd be like, maybe I would have made the house this color. That's it.
Yeah. And how would you communicate that with me? Would you communicate that with me?
You would have to pester me for like you would have to like really get on my case. Like no, like just give me one criticism.
Okay, if I asked you like that then.
Okay, then I'd be like, you know what? Maybe like the house. And you'd be like, what about the house? And I'd be like, yeah, like maybe like how about this?
Yeah.
How about? I would maybe try to phrase it as suggestive.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I would do this.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like how that sounds.
It's bad because you're not doing it.
Yeah, it's bad because you're not doing it the way that I think you should be doing it. Like I don't want. Like, I would say like, dude, this painting is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But if I really like, if you're pestering me, I'd be the house. The house, and you know, I would really try to make it as dismissive as possible. Like I wasn't thinking about it at all, even though it's like the only thing dominating my thought right now. The house, maybe pink, instead of fucking lilac.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Would you think of me how would you think of me as a person from that?
Do I like the painting? I think it's cool, right? I think the painting's cool. I wouldn't think of you any different. I think, like, you know what? Like maybe, I don't know. Like I would probably chalk it up to like. You know, he just likes that color, you know, or like maybe maybe like, or I would ask you like, well, what was your inspiration behind making it that color?
Yeah.
You know, but, I mean, I guess it depends. When it comes to criticism of art and stuff like that, that I think like I feel like I have enough respect for people and their craft to not be, but like let's just say like you bought a car.
Yeah.
Let's put it like that. You bought a car, and it's like the dog shit car. I don't know. You come up to me and you tell me like, huh? I'd be like, dude, I don't know. It's kind of fucking.
Yeah.
This is kind of dumb.
Yeah.
I'd probably tell you straight up like that.
Yeah.
But you know what? Art specifically, or any like creation.
Yeah.
Something that came like from the deepest pits of a car. It's like you have choices and you pick one and you pick the wrong one. Honestly, you picked the wrong one.
Yeah.
You know, but. With art, there's no real wrong choices, right? And so, like, how do you tell somebody that their art is wrong because it's not the choice you would have made? You know?
Yeah. So,
I would try to grasp your understanding, or like what circumstances led you to want to make the house green instead of making it.
It's fun. Green's my favorite color.
Green's my favorite color.
Yeah.
It used to be red, but recently, like, I have just been really attracted to green.
But okay, I think you answered your own question.
Yeah.
And this is why I asked about the painting, right? So now, I mean, in your response to me, the way that I painted it, and I heard a lot of empathy from you. You told me like you would like try to see things my way.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't judge me for it.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't like my character isn't a different person. You know that there's like a difference in ideas, and maybe you're not sure why, and that's okay. But you know, the approach you would have. So, two things. One, it's important that that's how a lot of people will see your own artwork.
Yeah.
They're gonna have empathy for
I'm
you.
sure.
Like it's not. Even though I will say, internally your world might feel like it's ending.
Yeah.
Because criticism is a grain of salt. You know that like it's hard to swallow, or whatever the saying is. But like, it pinches you.
Yeah.
But the reason, from a mental health perspective, the reason criticism can pinch you is because there's a bit of truth in there, right?
Yeah.
And the truth is a hard thing to accept,
Yeah.
right? And so when you hear something that is critical of you, that triggers something in you, like an emotion that like, you know, like, why'd they say that?
Yeah.
You know, and it's because it's about something you give a fuck about.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what can be a real challenge about being an artist is like you're almost like showing your heart to the world, and everyone's like, ew, you know.
Yeah.
Some people, and then some people are forgiving, and I think the second part is like it's important to know you have no control over how people see your heart.
Yeah.
You know, and it sucks,
Yeah.
but it's also part of that like courage and bravery relationship to have with art, you know, which is why you have to be okay with failure. Like if you're okay with failure, you show the world your heart, and they see it and they're like, ew, or someone like, oh, that's pretty cool, you know, like everyone's gonna respond differently. The responses that are gonna hit you harder, that are negative, are the ones that you associate some own truth in your own realm to, you know.
For sure.
And for me, the way that I've kind of been able to like run through that field is just focusing on the next piece. Yeah. You know.
Okay.
A lot of the times when I finish an artwork, good or bad, like whatever I personally think of it, I will show it, and I will have that cringe. Yeah. It's very real.
For sure.
You know, it stings, and you know some of those thoughts of my own insecurities will continue. You know, and this is very what's the word? It's very down to like the to everything I put out. You know, it even could just be a picture of myself. You know, and I'm like, I feel real insecure about the way I look in this image. You know, like, and I could be thinking about that for a long time. You know, or someone tags me in a photo and I didn't look the way I wanted to look. Yeah. I'm like, and then my perception. You know, like I'm really better than that. You know, whatever. And there's this like striving to be. It's this fight between how you want to be perceived and who you are. Yeah. And I feel like, man, like you got to go through the cringy shit, sure, but also a lot of things that have like good intentions can come off as cringy or uncool.
For sure.
You know, like I will be honest, and I feel like sometimes like really uncool doing like the wellness workshops, you know, that I like host online, like over Zoom and stuff, like, cause in my head, like someone cool is like smoking a little J, like riding this nice car, like a baddie over here, you know, like that's the association I have, you know, or being this other like chains and you know whatever, like that's my and like when I'm like in the front of the camera, like I welcome to my wellness workshop, you know, I feel so lame, but I know it's providing some kind of good in the world, you know, and I really have to fight how I'm perceived in order to even just put something out.
Yeah, I think the matter of perception is sometimes a little bit marred in current society, just off of the fact that current society, and at the very least in terms of what we create, is comparative. Right?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Sure.
So, like, how many times have you heard, like, you know, like, for example, earlier I asked you, is this Grimes? That might seem like as like a one-off comment, but like I'm comparing the two, right? Now I know it's not Grimes, similar, and I'm like, okay, well, like, you know, this, and this, like, oh, you know, whatever, this is like similar to Grimes, whatever. How many times do you get that with like a rapper or an actor or a whatever? You'll be like, oh, he's like this guy. And this guy. Yeah. If he's like this guy, if they had a baby. You know what I mean? Like, you get that a lot. And with such an abundance of content creation and such an abundance of people voicing something that they want to voice, it's difficult sometimes because obviously, like, no matter what you do, when you make content, you're conscious of that, right? I'm not gonna come on here and say Kendrick Lamar's verse and fucking blah 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 verbatim, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not mine. Like, it's not my own unique thought, right? So you have to. I don't know. I feel like it's like this weird. It's so comparative, right? I don't want to say the shit that everyone else is saying. Like, I want to voice my thoughts as they are, mine, as it pertain to me and whatever. And I think that I've been somewhat eloquent in that. At the very least, I've learned to be conscious of that, to the point where, like, I want to say that having a conversation with me is not really like having a conversation with too many others, right? I would hate if someone's having a conversation with me and they're like, yeah, dude, you sound just like this guy.
Like Anthony Fantana's opinion.
No, I'm not him. You know, like, I want to have my own lines of thought, and
and that's that want in you is exactly the reason I think you should pursue the thing that you want to.
Yeah.
You know, because if you never toss it in the wind, people are not. You're like, your voice isn't out there.
Yeah.
You know, and whatever it is, the thing you create, it could be like that thought could be translated into some song.
Yeah, for sure.
Some like musical thing, or it could be transcribed into like a photo or a painting or something.
Yeah.
You know, but I think for me that's why it's been really important to create. You know, I think for years of my life, it was about expressing, but it was also like this ego fulfillment thing, you know, and wanting to feel different, and then it's like I think most people have a complicated relationship with art, you know, and creation. But yeah, I would like to see something because one thing that I appreciate about you is like your ability to like have an in-depth conversation about a lot of different things. You know, like even yesterday when we were watching the movie, like it brought a lot of balance, you know, to like what this movie was like about and how it's experienced and stuff. And I found myself like appreciating both perspectives. Yeah. But had you not said anything, like we wouldn't have had that slice of, you know, the pizza and the whole thing, you know. And I mean, I came out of that experience like what's the word? It was a tough film to watch. I was also under the influence, so I couldn't you know, really watch it the way like maybe I wanted to like absorb it. At the same time, I think it was a little too close to home for me, you know. So it was like I'm just gonna like numb myself a little bit, so I don't like really watch it. But then I was like, and then I'm also thinking like about a filmmaker's perspective. Yeah, and,
it draws you in.
Yeah, it draws you in. Great like conversation piece.
For sure.
In my head. Yeah.
For sure. I think it's nice. I wouldn't say that I'm like I go against the mold. I'm a contrarian for the sake of being a contrarian.
Yeah. That's a whole thing.
But I mean, I do think that there is a lot of value. I mean, I wasn't calling Adrian an idiot or anything like that because this is in reference to that conversation we had yesterday about a movie. I wouldn't say anything about it. I like that he voiced his opinion, you know, but I had my opinion against it. Yeah, maybe I could have voiced it a little different. I didn't mean to say that. I hate that. You know, I mean, I think it was resonant with what I was thinking, and you know, I have my own ideas about the movie, you know. Yeah. Film in particular, I think I like to be very vocal about, because, you know, and maybe Karina would have been able to contribute to the conversation had she been awake. But, you know, she probably would have had her own, because, you know, we're all creators. The three of us here create and have had a passion for creation in the past. Yeah, that's true. And so it's kind of cool, like, to mesh. A lot of like the projects that we worked on were meshes of both of our ideas becoming something, right? You would say this, oh, sick. I would say this, oh, sick. Karina would say this, get that sick. Get a lot of ideas, like, meshing, right? And a lot of people don't have that sort of maybe like drive or sort of knack for getting you know, into creation like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, so if you are going to like put your feet in new waters, what do you think that might look like? And no pressure if you don't want to do that yet.
No, yeah, no. I've thought about it a lot. I've thought about it a ton. There are a lot of forms of creative expression out there, forms that I feel like I would be okay at. But the one that's resonated the most with me is actually streaming. Off the cuff, just talking.
Yeah.
Like, because it's really easy for me to make a YouTube video and have like a formulated sort of thought process of what I want to talk about, blah, blah, blah. But in a stream, there are people who are actively reacting to the things that you're saying. Some give pushback, some agree, some just voice their opinion, whatever it may be, right? Ooh, I didn't mean to rhyme. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of magic in that. You can really gauge the character of somebody and maybe get a good feel for who they are truly based off of how they present themselves in these off the cuff scenarios, right? Yeah. So for example, like I will always use the example of Hassan because I think that he is the most consistent person off the cuff. He's talking to you about something like stories like Bernie Sanders as well. Like these are people who like they are resolute and absolutely like true to the things that they're saying, and you can go back and look at all the things that they're saying. I want to be something like that, and maybe not so much in the realm of like political commentary, but not that I would ever shy away from it, right? If somebody came in and asked me whatever, I would be okay with saying it and okay with receiving whatever criticism I receive based off of that.
Yeah.
But just like in general with anything, if somebody were to come into the stream and say, I'm over here talking about how fucking I don't know why Montana is a dog shit state or whatever. I can tell you, I'm sitting here, I'm telling you all the things, and I have a Montanian who's coming in and they're like, yeah, no, like you have a misrepresentation of Montana, like here's my anecdote, right? I could listen to that and be like, yeah, you know what, like fuck you, I don't care, or whatever. Like they would get a gauge of the type of person that I am based on how I respond to these people, right? Some people will agree and some people will disagree, right?
Yeah.
But getting my voice out there, like in any capacity, is like interesting to me. That's why, like, in like, streaming is like the most. Other than that, acting. Acting is
and
so
you're
cool.
good at it before. I remember.
I don't know about that, but I mean, like, maybe given like if I would really sit down and like maybe take some classes, maybe take like something that would make it more like a feasible thing. Yeah. It's fun. It's a form of creative expression. Whether or not that's I can relate to the thing that I'm acting is irrelevant. Just
it's a whole different thing.
That I'm able to portray it. That I'm able to like mend all the emotions inside of me and put them forth in something that maybe would work for the project.
I mean, it sounds like you already know some of the steps you want to take.
Yeah, more or less. Like I've always I daydream a lot. I told you, I daydream a lot. I have this is gonna be really embarrassing, whatever. But I have main character syndrome for sure.
Oh yeah.
I always have thought about like this would be cool, like in the way that it's playing out in my head. This would be so cool. Of course, dude. Who in their head is like, I would just watch the hero do everything. No, you do not. Like, you want to be the hero. Yeah. You want to be the one with the powers. You want to be the one with all this cool stuff going on. And like, so within my daydreams, I fantasize a lot about everything.
Yeah.
And any range of, and it's always, it's always supplemented by music. It'll always, like, my daydreams will always be variant on the music that I'm listening to at the time.
Yeah.
It's nice sometimes. Like, I don't know, like I could imagine like a war going on because this song has got like it elicits this sort of response.
Oh, and it kicks you into the daydream.
It kicks me into the daydream. Yeah.
Do you have that also?
Yeah, I would say that definitely.
What kind of music do you? Or is it the same way where like a song will push you into a daydream or?
No, yeah. Sometimes like, because with a lot of like video games that I play, I mean. Like, usually a song plays when you're in this certain, like, part of the game. And, like, and I love going back to the soundtrack and listening to that song and remembering that, like, situation.
Oh, gotcha.
Like, and maybe just applying it to, like, another situation. Like, that song to another situation that I had a daydream and that was similar to that and, like, stuff like that. Like, like imagine putting myself into like that character's shoes and going through what's like happening at that moment with that song, like, you know.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So it's very like music heavy influence.
Oh, definitely.
Kind of
like,
thing.
I don't feel like my mind's ever quiet with music. Like, even as we're talking right now, I feel like there's always like a song playing.
Yeah, I resonate with that too. Like, is it a symptom of our generation? Like, just
maybe
so much content that like it just plays in the like, you know, kids. I'm gonna generalize here, but like they, you know how like when we were young we had like a few memes and we could reference them, and it was like, oh, we all kind of knew what was going on. But now there's so many memes that I don't really understand. One kid will reference one thing and no other kid will know because they're on like a whole personalized algorithm for them, you know, and these other kids are on this other thing, and so I feel like that's also contributed to like a sense of more like individual isolation.
For sure.
You know, that like the algorithm has like a commercial benefit, you know, and that like things are tailored to your experience, and sure, like it'll put you in some like echo chambers and, you know, whatever.
Oh, definitely.
But I do get the sense that like in the physical world, when you have a conversation with somebody of the younger crowd, that it is harder to relate, you know, because of how tailored this like experience of the algorithm is.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, definitely. I worry, you know, because like you said, sometimes kids, specifically younger, they do want to find things to relate to people with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, you know, while it does create a really large sense of individualism, maybe at one point, I think out of seeking, seeking like to be included with someone else, will gravitate people towards one thing.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
The biggest thing. So that's why, like, you know, maybe, you know, you had a couple of kids coming in and they're talking about like, oh yeah, like, did you not see the new Aiden stream?
Yeah.
And you're like, who's Aiden? And all of a sudden, you know, you want to, even though you have your own personalized taste, maybe you're not really all about that life.
Yeah.
All the kids are talking about, or like one kid was talking about it, and then two, then four, and then, you know, it sort of grows exponentially. Yes, I do think that a sense of individualism is nice, and we can recognize that because we have our own sense, because we have our own personalities now that we've grown up. But kids, the fear of being excluded will gnaw at a kid. You know, and I can see it in my niece now. We were watching a video of her like doing her little like end of year video.
Oh, cute.
The teacher does like an end of year video where she sort of shows pictures and stuff, but at the end of the thing, she was she was asking a bunch of kids what they want to be when they grow up. There were like 4 different answers.
Yeah.
Like there were like 20 kids, like 4 different answers.
Yeah.
A lot of kids saying video gamers. All those kids are a clique. A lot of girls saying ballet. Those girls are a clique, right? They all got the idea from each other, and not like individually they were each told about ballet. You know, they came to school and they're like, yeah, I want to be a ballet dancer. And you see her, she's pretty. Oh, okay, I want to be like her. A ballet dancer sounds like something I want to do too, you know? I mean, it's funny. Funny enough, my niece was one of her own unique...
ballet ones?
No, she was one of her own unique answers.
Oh,
she was a firefighter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Not a lot of kids want to do that.
No,
anymore.
there was actually... She was the only response that said firefighter. But yeah, like, it's nice. Although, it's interesting, because as soon as that was made apparent to her, that all the other kids didn't say firefighter, we asked her again, and she took the most popular answer, which was cop.
What?
Cop.
Cop. Damn, so it was almost like that sense of being excluded drew her to...
that's what I'm trying to tell you. It got to her. It gnawed at her that everyone else said cop, ballet dancer, or video gamer.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, firefighter sounded kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Firefighter was like, what?
You know? Yeah, because kind of,
She is resolute on the things that she believes in, honestly. Okay, but, you know, like I said, the fear of isolation sometimes is strong enough that it would elicit that kind of response. It's a sad world that we've created, I think, where people who are isolated, like people who are different. Look at Mark. Yeah. Look at how we treated him for being a little bit different than us.
Yeah.
We were the cool kids who played soccer and stuff.
Yeah.
and we bullied him for not being like us. I was always like that when I was a kid. I was such a piece of shit
Me
kid.
too.
I remember there was a kid named Nathan Huang,
Okay.
Vietnamese kid.
Yeah.
You know, he was like a dweeby looking kid. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it like in that aspect.
Yeah.
He was like a dweeby looking kid, right? Like obviously like his like it was a free uniform free school. His grandma would dress him in a uniform. You know, and like he had like his hair just down, you know, whatever. And this was like in the era of like spiked hair.
Spiky hair. Yeah, I remember that.
So I remember when I came up to him and I was like, Nathan, like, why don't you talk to girls? And he was like, you know, I don't know how to.
It's not even a clown to do.
So I was trying to spit some game to him. I was trying to tell him like, oh dude, like you got to do this. Like come to school in some shorts, dude. What are you doing in pants? Like we're all about shorts.
You're
we're all
assimilating
come play soccer with us. Come play football with us. Like come be like a boy and be cool. Be cool like me, Nathan. I distinctly remember saying like, be cool like me.
So there's almost like you wanted to be validated through him as what you were doing was cool.
Of course, because I didn't think like I mean I certainly thought I was cool, but like I could just as easily be humbled. I remember distinctly one of the most humbling experiences for me within this thing, and it kind of it toned me down. A lot of things deflate you, right?
Yeah.
Just naturally in life. But I remember one time we had a school dance in a Bursch. This is an era of like shuffling. Oh, yeah. And we were shuffling, right? We were doing a little thing. But I wasn't entirely confident on whether or not I was shuffling correctly. So I was like, hey, Karen, like, I was at the dance, and look, I was dancing like this. And she's like, lame. She was like, I remember we were in Walmart, and I did it in Walmart. And she was like, stop, and never do that again. And I was like, okay, yeah, got it. You know, I was very humbled right then and right there. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm never actually dancing again. Like, I never want to dance again. Dude, ever again.
Older siblings can be so fucking
honestly,
mean.
It's great though. Like they really do put you in your fucking place.
Yeah.
They really do, because I mean, Karen, for all her faults, she really did teach me a lot about not being a fucking loser. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, whatever.
Oh man, yeah. So much of our like. I'm glad that we were able to like process a lot of the stuff that like in our childhood.
I consider
like,
myself very fortunate.
You know, middle school shit and all that good stuff.
Some people peak in high school and peak in middle school, and like they really will grasp onto that, you know, and they never grow past the fact that they were cool in high school.
Yeah,
and they carry that chip on their shoulder forever.
Personality and all that.
Me, like I think it's actually very healthy to think that you were cringe as a child.
I agree.
I think it does a lot for you, like you know, because I mean
you're okay with being cringy. Yeah.
Like I think about it, even for people who like I respect and I think should, like, for example, like, do you remember Marjorie?
Oh yeah.
She's I would venture to say that she is very similar to how she was in high school, and I'm not entirely sure about that. Like I'm not entirely sure if that's how it should be. I have talked.
Oh, you have.
I caught up with her and we spoke for a little bit. And yeah, you know, I got the sense that she was, you know, still same with Marjorie, and like to some extent, like there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. She was cool in high school, and she was cool now, right? Yeah. She got all sorts of different tastes and stuff, but
yeah, I did always look up to her.
Yeah,
she's like the standard. Like
okay, I think that she would be an example of somebody who peaked and is continuing to peak, right?
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Then I think of people, and I don't want to say their name, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't want to say their name because, you know, it's not because what I'm about to say is like some criticism, and you know, maybe they're not entirely ready to hear something like that, and I don't want them to have to be ready to hear something like that. But there was somebody who we knew in high school who was very, very well spoken to be like the shit. Mm-hmm. Right? This person was like really smart, really, like, I would even say that they had a pretty inflated ego, and a lot of people recognize that in high school or whatever.
Yeah.
But they you know, they ended up doing really well in high school. They were one of the smartest kids, and you know, they went to a really prestigious university and dropped out. They dropped out, and they kind of aren't doing anything anymore. Right? Yeah. Like they're more or less like they're doing all right, I think. Yeah. But they dropped out, and for a while they were not exactly who we thought they were gonna be. You get what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
People who like I think, and like I don't know. I want to say that I don't want to wish ill and say that maybe life, you know, had to treat them that way, and whatever the circumstances were, but I definitely think that life has a tendency to humble people at times. I consider myself one of those people that life has had to like really subdue. like really put you in your fucking place, so you
Gotcha.
like learn that you're
Yeah.
not the shit and that you're not fucking, you know, the same person who you thought you were. No,
Yeah.
that person is cringe, and you should abandon that person
Mm.
because, or not like that, but like, you know, that aspect of yourself that you thought was like the shit. Reevaluate it.
It's important
Reevaluate
to
it.
always
And,
evaluate. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
and I think life treated this person like in that sense, and I think that, you know, I think they sort of caught back up, but you know, for a while, you know, like this person who honestly was very they were mean. They were mean in high school, you know, and I think they had a superiority complex
Sure.
that was humbled.
Yeah.
That was humbled pretty harshly. in
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Everyone walks like their own
True.
journey in life, and yeah, it definitely like it is the case. Yeah, like for some people, it's like that's their big moment kind of thing, and that's like the lessons that they're. Isn't it interesting that like everyone has like a different set of lessons
Yeah.
that are like pivotal,
Yeah.
but they're all like different and like a random mix. And yeah, for some people, like that's like the biggest moment, you know, like having like an inflated ego and like being real shitty, and then you know, I think that wherever you are, like you're kind of on a clock with life where the flip is gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know, and like you'll eventually be like, oh shit, like almost it's almost like the way you are will teach you why that isn't healthy.
Yeah.
You know, by nature of your own actions.
Exactly.
You know, and maybe even the flip too, that like even if I think this is why I have or I try to have hope for people who have like a challenging upbringing, you know, who maybe blame themselves a lot, or you know, are hard on themselves. Like I think one of the reasons I have like a big like hope and empathy for a person like that is because like the only things in life that there are for that person to learn, hopefully, are like the things that will bring them like comfort in like their own journey, you know. But yeah, there's for sure people who, man, so old, like those days. I think a fat amount of my intention in that time was also just allocated to like my home, you know, and processing those like things for myself. But yeah, anyway, I think this is a good place to wrap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for both being on. Thank you for your 2 words. I'm kidding. No, it was really nice, like just chatting, and like getting to kind of like see where you both are.
Yeah.
Usually before I end, oh shit. Yeah, usually before I end, I ask you to let people know where they can find you, you know, online or whatever. If you don't want them to find you, that's also okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to start.
My name is Isael. On Instagram, I think it's PIZZAEL.exe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't really post much or anything like that, but I do like to post occasionally like positive things on there, things that I'm thinking of for the day, and you know, if you are interested in something like that, or if you're interested in like reaching out to talk about anything in particular, I will never shy away from a conversation. Either that or Twitter. If it doesn't explode, Twitter, I'm PIZZAEL_JPG, I think.
JPG. Oh, like JPEG.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
JPG.
Hi, I'm Karina. You could where you'd most likely find me or be able to talk to me would be like Karina Avalos under Facebook, because I still use Facebook.
You're holding it down there.
No, but I have a lot of queer friends who also use Facebook,
Oh,
and
nice.
that's kind of where we all communicate.
Yeah. I'm
I'm also on Discord, just Kiwi Karina. It's with Karina with a C, by the way. And the Discord is Kiwi Karina. I don't have any numbers on it because it did the whole like username update. And it's KIWICARINA.
Nice. Yeah, thank you.
Good vibes.
Bye, everyone.
Appreciate.
Nice. Yes, hey.
I made it all up.
Just kidding.